creating a broadcast.
My mouth is all screwy.
We're live, by the way.
Are we?
Hey!
Hey, everybody.
Perfect timing.
All right. Hi there, and welcome to episode 30 of the Lorefield podcast, the podcast for Starfield lore and news discussion. Boy, do we have a doozy for you today. With 3 weeks to go before Starfield's September 6th release, Bethesda has blessed us with a Discord AMA featuring Starfield's design director Emil Pagliarulo and lead quest designer Will Shen, which we'll be breaking down in detail, question by question, so you can be sure you aren't missing any of the juicy new information revealed by that. We also have a Starfield lore timeline that was revealed on Starfield's website just a few days ago, which will be very interesting to look at. Gives us about 280 years worth of history leading up to the game's setting in 2330, so stay tuned for that as well. I am your co-host Mitch, taking you on what feels like an intergalactic journey through all this new information, joined by my side co-piloting the frontier. It's Lexi.
Hello.
We are also joined by the friendly, the fabulous, and the perpetually espoused Red Wolf.
Oh, me? I'm about to mark. Thank you for having me again. So excited to talk about the lore on this Lorefield. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We are also joined by... Wait a minute.
There's no way you have this prepared.
There's something tapping on my window. I'll be right back. Hold on.
What could this be? Is it the pigeon?
I swear to God, if he pulls a messenger pigeon out.
Like a real bird?
Oh my gosh, what the... You won't believe it. There was a messenger pigeon at my window.
Wow!
It had this piece of paper rolled up in its talons. It's so weird. Right at the intro of the show, what could this... It's from Todd Howard.
Oh my God.
Here's what it says. As one project comes to its close and another project sees its new beginnings, I become thankful for the few constants in my life. Although I adore my wife, my children, and my friends, I do not speak of them at this time. I speak of the Colossus, the one man who rises above the rest during the perilous years of my silence. Possessing the essence of a YouTuber, this man's footprint in the digital ecosystem we have artificially created will outlast and transcend his organic being. He is DeMarco, dude.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's amazing how Todd Howard just knows as soon as, and this was a live show that wasn't scheduled at all.
Right.
That's amazing. Todd, listen, Todd.
I thought that there was going to be a review code in that message for DeMarco.
maybe next
Listen,
time.
Todd, you never cease to amaze me. Thank you, Todd. Listen,
That's amazing.
Listen. When you need someone for Elder Scrolls 6, just give me a ring. I'll be there.
There you
I
go.
work for free.
Yeah.
He always times it so perfectly. I can't believe it.
It's amazing that he does that. How does he
Yeah.
know?
I don't know. And the pigeon, too. I mean, how did he know when to send the pigeon such that it would arrive at my window as I'm doing? I just can't
Guys are
believe
so
it.
in life.
It's
God damn.
Unreal.
You're going to need to start having. I don't know how you plan to keep getting more and more elaborate, but you can't go down from this. That's the problem. You can't de-escalate. It needs to.
You just
real
watch.
bird, and
Eventually, the entire show will just be like a Family Guy skit as you try to pull off.
I was just about to say, like, he brings in, he's like, what's this? He goes off camera, grabs a real bird. He's like, it's a messenger pigeon. It's like, it's tearing him completely to pieces.
The entire show is just a pre-recorded. If you ever watch Rick and Morty and you see like, there's the episode where they do the reality TV or the interdimensional cable, and then you have the guy who's the door salesman, Ants in My Eyes something, I forgot his name, and then he just, after he's doing his whole skit, he just like goes on a normal walk, and he just ends up at his house, and then it's a brand new show. Some people will know what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's good. DeMarco, you had mentioned, or maybe it was Wolf, mentioned the possibility of getting a review code with one of those letters from Todd Howard. And that leads nicely into the first bit of news we have. Just today, the day of this recording, August 16th, Starfield went gold. Preloads start tomorrow on Xbox, August 17th, and August 30th on Steam. Lex, you're the only person on this panel here who has development experience, so could you enlighten our wonderful listeners on what going gold means for a game?
It meant a lot up until Cyberpunk did it and then delayed it after. Um,
Oh.
but what it means is game's done, as in they're printing discs, they're packing them in copies, and they're getting them ready to be sent out to retailers, who are inevitably, some of them are going to leak the game early, so people might get it a few days early. Don't expect that, but they have been known to do that. Unless you went with Walmart and then they'll just cancel your order.
It's super common. It's super common that GameStop all the time decides, hey, it's fine. We'll just give out the copy, man. Oh, you're here a day early? That's fine.
There's even been cases of employees stealing copies to take home.
Could you? I don't blame them. I'm just gonna say, I don't. How do you sit with a copy of Starfield on your shelf and go, I could wait?
Yeah, but you're being watched. It's like you could get fired and you'd have to give it back anyway. Unless you're like,
oh no, I got to play Starfield early and got fired from GameStop. Ah, my career is over.
Oh, jeez.
Ah,
Jeez.
I for one am super excited about Starfield going gold. I've had the game loaded on my Xbox dashboard for a couple of weeks now, but now tomorrow we're gonna find out file size. It becomes so much more real now that we're there. The game's gone gold. It's just.
I think
File
I'm
size is
gonna.
out there.
125 gigs.
125 on Steam, 135 on consoles on Xbox.
Whoa, dude.
Oh, that hurts so bad.
I think that's
have to-
more console
Wait,
compression.
let me see, because somebody actually shared that recently, and they were like, "Wow, the file size apparently got bigger on console recently."
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I knew it'd be big, but I wasn't expecting 130 gigs big.
I'm so scared.
Oh my.
No kidding.
I think I was gonna say the opposite, but then I realized
140.
140.
God.
140. It is 100. He is looking at Starfield Standard Edition coming soon to Game Pass. Install size 139.84 gigabytes.
139?
139.84.
Dude. Whoa. That's
That's-
fantastic. I'm
that's
thinking
good.
about Jedi Survivor, even though that's nothing, but graphically, yeah, 147 gigs, I think Survivor was on console. That's wild. That's wild.
I'm glad it's so big, but that's also terrifying for my poor hard
Yeah.
drive.
I'm so
That
scared.
that
You didn't want to play
means
anything else anyway. It doesn't matter.
until Sony in their wisdom decides it's time to make another Blu-ray format, Starfield might be on 2 discs on Xbox because they only hold 100 gigabytes.
Oh,
No,
interesting.
it won't, because they'll do what games do these days, where half the game isn't on the disc anyway. It's all just downloaded.
Yeah,
It's a
like
very
code
common
that
practice
you're
where you buy the
downloading from-
disc and the whole game isn't on the disc anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like that.
Listen, you never own a game anymore.
I knew
And
that,
unless it's
but I
always
didn't know.
stored-
I didn't know that. I thought the disc was mainly for people who have shit internet.
That's why people have a problem with exactly that. Is because it is. People like it when they don't have good internet. They could go out and they'd be like, I just buy the disc. But guess what? Nope.
I knew the
Because
disc was a
A
key.
lot of games do not come with the full game on the disc anymore. Incredibly
weird.
after, as you mentioned, game only 100 gigabytes. So every single game that's larger than 100 gigabytes is a good way to think about it.
Unless you're Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, then you market 2 discs, so the game has to be on 2 discs. itself.
Yeah, but nobody wants to do that.
And Red Dead Redemption 2 did it. Rockstar did it. I bet they're going to do that with GTA 6, 2 discs.
What if they're 4 discs and you got to put them all in at the same time?
Well, I mean, when GTA came to PC, it wasn't like 7 or 8 discs, so. Because they were DVD discs, not Blu-ray. Takes you back to the
Wasn't Mass
floppy
Effect
days.
one of the last ones to do that?
Floppy disk days.
Lost Odyssey did it too on 360.
Wolfenstein: The New Order had 4 discs on Xbox 360.
That's 360. You're talking about the Stone Age.
Stone Age. I'm just saying, back then we had it easy. Unlike the PS3, you know, we had the Xbox 360. Put the game in, and bing, bang, boom, and it works instantly. I wish we could go back to those
Every time
days.
I think of Bing Bang Boom, I think of the EA Sports logo. Bing Bang Boom. It's in the game. I don't know why. I've always. Anyway. Yeah.
Are you misremembering? I don't think they've ever said bing, bang, boom. It's in the game.
It's the EA Sports. It's in the game. It's in my app. Yeah, but I just say Bing Bang Boom.
So I hate to move us along, but DeMarco is only with us for a limited amount of time, and I want to maximize the amount of Starfield discussion we can have with him. Shout out to Jake in the chat, by the way, but I would like to talk about the Starfield timeline that dropped on Starfield's website just a couple of days ago, August 14th. You can find this by going to Bethesda.net and navigating to Starfield's page and then scrolling to the bottom. There's a new part that says the story so far, ... And then it scrolls you through a timeline of the last 280 years, absolutely packed with lore, much of it new. So we're going to go through this because we're a lore show. That's what we do. The first item starts all the way back in 2050 when humans first arrive on Mars. First of all, is that a fair extrapolation of us arriving on Mars if you look at the present day where we're at?
I mean, Elon Musk claims we're going to be there by 2030. But, you know, I'm not sure I believe everything that man says. Especially after what he did to Twitter. Let's make Twitter great again, and now we've got X.
Yeah. He'll be getting indicted soon for that with his buddy. Stop.
Worst rebrand ever.
Yeah, 28 years? Isn't that right? No. Yeah, no. 27 years.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Landing on Mars? I mean, I don't know. I would say that would be cool. Landing successfully on Mars and no one dies, maybe. Because there is a big gap from 2050 in that timeline. So,
have any of you watched Oppenheimer?
Not yet. Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Okay,
No.
that
No, I wanna
movie.
watch it so bad.
I'm so upset. That's my favorite movie that we're like in a long time. But that movie has proved to me that if humanity decided to do literally anything, it can be done. And if suddenly, like, every single element of our society, like in the US, was saying, we are going to Mars, it would happen within the next couple of years. I'm just saying. It is impossible to set any other result. So, 2050, I think, is definitely feasible.
Love it.
Easily feasible.
The next extrapolation Bethesda makes from our current space exploration technology to Starfield is in 2156. Over a century has passed now from when we first landed on Mars. Humans arrive in Alpha Centauri, our nearest solar neighbor, closest star to us, 4.37 light years away. This does not necessarily mean that we have faster than light travel in 2156. I think it's perfectly feasible to get like a self-sustaining ship, get a garden going on the ship, maybe a couple of generations of people. You could get there in 20 years at 25% the speed of light. So we don't necessarily have like the warp tech, the graviton field loop array yet when we go to Alpha Centauri in 2156. I think it's important to make that clear.
Alpha Centauri is where is that?
Very close by, the closest star to us, 4.5, just shy of 4.5 light years away.
And which capital homes?
You mean in the game? What?
In the game.
So that's where New Atlantis is. New Atlantis, Jemison.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been
Yeah.
studying, just so you know.
we really, really happy to see all the support in the chat, by the way. Count, Assassin, Jonas, see all of you. We have a very exciting thing to look forward to. I don't think we're going to get to it today, but there's a Starfield Jeopardy game that we're going to do, and it's going to be like a full episode of Jeopardy. It's going to be great. And
See how stupid I am.
some of the questions will have to do with this timeline, but that's something to look forward to pretty soon. The next item in the timeline comes in 2159, so just 3 years after we get to Alpha Centauri, United Colonies are established. So humanity was like, okay, we take up more than one star's space now. Let's get this United Colonies thing going. They started that interplanetary government pretty quick.
I'm surprised they didn't have that sorted before they left.
Interesting.
They didn't have the United Colonies before leaving and setting up New Atlantis. It was just like, oh hey, we're 4 light years away. Yeah, we probably need some government. Yes, that's it. That's a good name. Who said that? You? Yeah, we'll do that one. What are we about? Democracy? Okay, that sounds cool. Yeah, we like democracy. All right, cool.
There are some things in this timeline that indicate that maybe the United Colonies doesn't love democracy so much, but we'll get there.
True.
The very next year, New Atlantis is founded and becomes the official capital city of the United Colonies in 2161. So they really hit the ground running as far as, getting that government set up and colonizing Jemison.
It's crazy to me that I feel like in this point in the timeline, they're just like, tents, space tents and stuff. Just everyone making campfires.
It's worse than regular tents.
Exactly. It's made of plastic, like that thin saran wrap plastic, so everyone can see you and everything.
You've just described
then,
Firefest.
Oh, is that a thing?
Well, you don't know what
Everyone
Firefest is? Like the
No. Is that a? Can we
You've
talk about it here?
you've never heard about Firefest? You're gonna have to Google it in your own time. It's amazing. It was a big catastrophe.
Should I go incognito before I Google it, or?
No, just type in Firefest.
Okay.
It was a catastrophe.
So anyway, what happened next, Mitch?
Assassin joined the hype train for Starfield is what happened next. Assassin, I know
What?
you've been skeptical of BG. Yeah, check the chat. Assassin, some of his concern has been swelled in light of the Q&A and Starfield going gold. So that is, Assassin is, I think it would be fair to call him a skeptic of Starfield. He wasn't quite so ready to jump on the hype train like maybe the four of us were, which is perfectly fine. But now he's in the chat here saying, he's starting to get pretty excited maybe.
The
So
hype
I think
train
that's great.
is starting to speed up, Assassin, but if you run fast enough, I will grab your hand. Take my hand. I'll get you on. Come on. I got you. That's awesome. Well, good, man. Assassin, that's great. I'm glad that you're coming around. Took you long enough. No, I'm kidding. I understand you. Listen, we're not going to do this here. It'll take too long, but seriously, that's great, dude. Hell yeah. Heck yeah. I'm sorry. Shit. Shoot. I'm sorry. Please
Love it.
continue. What happened next?
In the next thing that happened in the timeline is actually something we knew about before, and that is in 2167, Cheyenne, which is the planet that houses Aquila City, is settled by Solomon Coe, and he founds Aquila City in Cheyenne. I believe Cheyenne is a star, not a planet. Yeah, so forgive me if I called it a planet. So then, sorry?
You did. What is the planet of Aquila City?
I believe it is Aquila.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, did I? Okay, yeah.
I will pretend I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Just keep nodding.
Yeah.
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 Right. Mm-hmm. Like that. That's how you get them.
Still kind of laying the groundwork of all these factions and basic systems. So Ko invites Vol-Lee, not Vol-2, to join Cheyenne in a new alliance, the Freestar Collective, and the Freestar Collective is officially formed in 2189. So we'll get to it a little later, but we've known for a very long time that the Freestar Collective consisted of 3 star systems, and we actually know all 3 of those systems. And so now that we've kind of laid the foundation, 2194 is where it gets really, really juicy. So we learn about the Narian War. I love this. It's insane.
Same. This is my favorite bit of the lore so far. Because we didn't hear anything about this at all so far, and I was like,
You're like, what?
so right. Yeah,
It was cool. It was cool. It's cool that all this stuff happened, and this is just a fraction of it too, because obviously I think people have kind of pointed out as we're going through, some of you watching might even notice it as well, is that there are gaps. There are definitely people who are wondering, wait, how did it escalate to this, and what went in between? You know, for example, my question, we just talked about Solomon Coe. What caused him? Because obviously everyone had to kind of do this trip relatively together, I would think.
Right.
In some capacity. So what caused Solomon Coe and obviously enough people to leave
to branch off,
to branch off, settle somewhere far away because they had to get to that point, and then decide, I'm gonna do my own thing. UC, don't like those letters.
Yeah.
FC. Now those are some letters.
Those are letters, indeed.
Those are some letters. UC, bad.
I actually agree.
Did you read the? Or wait, I'm sorry. I don't want to skip ahead. Did you read that entire thing, Mitch?
No. So yeah, I guess real quick, here's the story of how the Narian War gets started. So the United Colonies positions a star station called the Clinic. Note that name because it sounds scientific in nature rather than like military. I think this is a peaceful star station. They place the Clinic in orbit around Deepala, which is a planet in the Narian system. Narian is an unaffiliated system at this time, and that the Clinic being in their orbit pisses off the people of Narian. They see this as a UC attempt to expand their borders, and they demand that the UC removes the Clinic. The UC refuses, and the people of Narian vote to join the Freestar Collective, who mobilize to protect the system in 2195.
I love this so much. I love this. Like, dude, you know
There's
how hard
so
it
many
was for us to get
questions.
here? And then the UC's like, do you know who we are? We're the children of Earth, and then they're like, listen, this is our space. And like, who says we're the UC? It's like the United Colonies reminds me of like the Republic before it became the Empire or something. That's the vibe that I get. Like
That's
they're
awesome.
starting off
It's-
good, and then it's like creeping into Empire territory.
But that's that big question: is what are they doing with that station to begin with? That they
Okay, right.
decided to go. Nah, we're just gonna drop this here.
Yeah, they're just you go, and they're like, "What is that? What is that?"
Why they're watching, like, these people on the planets in the system are watching the Death Star float into their space, and they're like, "Huh." And UC goes, "No, it looks good. Looks good." Like you have some architect or like designer like that's sitting there going, "That looks good there."
I just imagine you on your space station. It's early in the morning, and you're waking up. Hey, Dave, how's it going? Let's get some coffee. And you're like, and you're just like, did you see? What's that? Yeah, I love that.
Lex, we got some feedback from Jonas on audio. Wasn't sure if you caught that.
Yeah, I tweaked it. It should be better. I've turned them
Awesome.
both up.
Awesome. Shout out Noodles. Thanks for joining us. One thing that I think is worth considering in this scenario of the Clinic being placed in orbit of Deepala is international space law. And in the current present world, international space law is very much a thing. there are 5 treaties that govern how countries are supposed to behave in space. And one of those actually deals with exactly this situation, and it's called the Outer Space Treaty. And the Outer Space Treaty dictates that basically there are no valid claims to sovereignty in outer space, which means that the UC was well within its right to place the clinic in the orbit of Deepala. Now, bear in mind, this is happening almost 200 years, about 170 years in the future. So I don't think the Outer Space Treaty is still going to govern people's behavior, especially since we're now an interplanetary species. But I do think it's worth bringing up that currently international law says there's nothing wrong with this. And we have a very kind of liberal, kind of like one human race, one nation approach to how we claim territory in outer space.
Here's actually something interesting. Another treaty for space is SALT 2, I think it's called. SALT 2 governs that you cannot have any form of weaponry in space, except lasers, because they didn't exist back then. Well, not death rays. Lasers are perfectly acceptable, but any other form of weaponry is forbidden in space. That would have to get evaluated as well, depending how combat works for us. Or we'd be committing a crime. Because, do you know why that's a thing? Because the Russians were talking about pulling a nuke in orbit, and one day it would randomly drop, and innocents would die.
My goodness.
If that's not terrifying,
Real.
yeah. I think that's how it went down.
This is why we need to start exploring some Alpha Centauri on here.
Yeah, baby.
Let's get to Mars. Come on. Whoever needs to.
Come on.
I'll invest.
Chop.
I think that's a great point, Lex, because that also calls into question once again, what is the clinic? What purpose is it serving in the orbit of Deepala? If it's a weapon, then yeah, probably not good to have it there. If it's a hospital, not sure UC did anything wrong. Really interesting.
I think at that point it's I would have to imagine we can't follow current laws though for something like this.
I think
Would
most laws.
We're 200 years, did you say?
About
Beyond their
170,
own.
yeah. in that
Yes.
ballpark.
So I don't know if at that point, and Jonas said this, it's more like you are intruding in their territory. You are crossing their border.
Sure.
And even
Yeah.
if that law isn't in place, I would still feel as though that is the case. Personally.
Okay, so Mitch, tell me again, just because I don't want to waste too much time reading. So the UC came into I don't want to spoil anything. Came into the territory of the Narian systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And United Colonies positions the Star Station. Okay, called the clinic in order around the. Okay, so what was? So this is just typical. Get off my land, like the thing that we've been fighting. Human beings have been fighting over for literally ever, right? There is no other like. The UC comes in and says we're gonna put a star station here, just because we can. Because nope, it's a whole star system. It's not like look how far away things are from each other. Like in video games, it looks like it's like right there. Like when you play No Man's Sky, it's like there's a planet like right there, and that's because it's a video game. But it would take you a long time to realize that someone has built. And how long it would take you to actually build a whole ass star station. Then for the Narian system, the people of the Narian system would just arrive and be like, "What is that? What is that over there?"
You can even. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that's. I guess now that I think about it, I guess it's like really what was the purpose, right? And that's what DeMarco was saying. Like raises more questions than it does like. The explanation is what exactly were they doing? Were they trying to like encroach upon their territory. Like, let's just ease in there, because by the time it's built, what are they gonna do? Say no? It's right there. So, yeah.
You can even break this down into like the most basic of human territorial disputes. Like if your
Yeah.
neighbor is growing a tree and that tree hangs over into your yard and you start complaining to the HOA, that's kind of what this is. Like it's
Right. It's
just-
like, it's a tree, dude.
Except
it's
now
fine.
it's
They're
in
like,
space and everyone has lasers. And
Everyone-
exactly. Right.
and fleets of spaceships, which is what happens the following year. In response to Freestar mobilization, the UC moves a fleet into the Narian system, and the Freestar responds again with more ships, and the Narian War begins. That's in 2196. So this all kind of pops off within a few months. But the Narian War itself lasts a very long time. It isn't until 2216 that the Narian War, public sentiment around the Narian War starts to sour, and finally the Treaty of Narian is signed in 2216 by the UC and the Freestar Collective, ending the conflict. And in that treaty, the term settled systems is formalized.
I love that. The 20-year war. That's what it's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be called, the 20-year war. Or just the
It's
Narian
not
War,
as
because
cool
it's
as
so
the 100-year war. Did the 100-year war actually run for 100 years?
That was a really cool war. Sorry, go.
Was it like how what? Were they like I dropped out of history. I don't know. Like they couldn't have been fighting just constantly for 100 years. That'd be dull. Wouldn't there be a
It'd be
point where you'd just be
dull. There's
Boring.
people living and dying, like fighting for what their beliefs are. Man, that would just be so boring.
So cool, man.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, you start, and by the time the war ends, your great-grandson is fighting in the war. Think of it like that.
If you think the 100 Years' War is crazy, look into the conquistadors in Spain. I think that was about 700.
Oh.
They just kept fighting and taking. It was the Moors versus, I think, Christians were the other combatants, and they just kept taking over the entire country over and over again, north to south, and it dragged on for 7 centuries.
History gonna history.
Indeed. Anyway, so the Narian War, was pretty long, a few decades, and then it's 5 years after that I think, as a response to the Narian War, the Freestar Collective forms the Freestar Rangers, which are an elite protective and investigative force dedicated to serving all citizens of the Freestar Collective. 2221, that happens.
Do you think those are sort of the specters of the Starfield universe?
I literally, that's something that I actually thought about. I compared it to the Spectres, or just like
or is it
this
just
is
N7
without
where they're
super, right? Just sort of like a sect of an organization that's like, these are our elites, sort of like your Spartans or your N7s, your Spectres, like that kind of stuff. And then they sort of eventually become more than that. But that's exactly what I thought. Like, we're the elite. We're gonna handle things that the bigger boys don't have time for, or whatever.
Okay, I didn't want to go too far off topic, but I've
that's usually a good place to stop. I don't want to go too far off topic. All right, so let's.
But
think about it, right? All right, I want the aliens to be a race that augmented themselves into machines. That way, they don't have to actually have aliens. They just have the aftermath, but they're non-biological. It's possible because we've considered life might not even be biological in the universe. There might be life that did exist and then, converted themselves into machines.
I'm not sure if my brain is ready for this topic.
Yeah.
If it happens, I'm a pro. Well, think about it, because you're immortal and you can focus on more important stuff than your fleeting life.
We don't even know that intelligent aliens are confirmed yet.
Keep your hopes up.
My hopes are that the Great Serpent will just one day consume us all.
Vectera?
I think the Great Serpent was a scientist that fell into a wormhole. Or I bet someone fell into a black hole and they became the serpent.
Became the serpent.
Well, yeah, because they
Isn't Vectera Vectera is the serpent?
they theorized that black holes are portals to other universes. That's just a theory. We don't know because you'd be crushed. You can't prove anything, and you can't. We're not even sure if we know what's in an event horizon, because we just can't see past it.
Event Horizon, that's actually the beginning of Warhammer 40k.
That's nice. I'm talking about black holes.
Yeah, that's how that happened. Demons came from hell. It was really cool.
But here's the thing: are
So
wormholes real?
Vectera, okay.
Are wormholes real? Tell me this. I'm dragging this down.
In 2275.
Answer me.
So how many years go by? 54. 54 years after the Freestar Rangers are founded, Constellation is founded by Sebastian Banks. That is a new name on this timeline. We haven't heard of Sebastian Banks before, but he's very important because he creates Constellation. The original members of Constellation include Chloe Bao, accomplished physicist, Aha Mamasa, the youngest member and Sebastian's protege, Darius Andrus, botanist and specialist in xenoflora, Bernadette Laurent, wealthy heiress and adventurer, Everardo Gill, former smuggler, and Kadri Toma, a biologist and physician. The Lodge, which is Constellation's beautiful headquarters in New Atlantis, is built to serve the needs and people of Constellations for generations to come.
I think that old generation of Constellation is instantly, based on their job descriptions, more qualified than these people that we're getting to meet.
Has anyone seen the poll?
Oh yes, it's a dead heat between Yes and Lexi. Stop.
I love it.
Oh gosh. So here's one question for everybody. These people are almost dead, if they're not already, in 20 through 30 when the game takes place. So why is it worth going into detail about who they all are?
I think you know what? I think it's important because they go into detail here, which is interesting, but you have to keep in mind that all of these factors need to be considered just because when we get into game, that is definitively information that's incredibly important. Well, I say incredibly important. That's information that we definitively would want to know. Like, how did Constellation start? Who started it? Those are the types of things you come across in terminals and books all the time in Bethesda games, and that's what makes their worlds feel so special and so alive, is because that detail is there, and they consider that type of stuff. So, I really don't. If the question is why are they including it in this specific timeline, I would argue why did they include a lot of this stuff? Right, like why the Narian War makes sense, but why did they include the first time we colonized a thing versus over something else, over another piece of information?
Sure. And Jonas brings up a great point too, which is that's assuming human lifespan remains similar to today.
Mhm.
So there's a chance that maybe we've made great progress in aging and they're actually like kind of elderly, but they're still like kind of in the picture of Constellation. That's a possibility as well.
Actually, expanding that, we don't even believe that we've reached the length of our actual lifespans. Because there's a finite limit that we've speculated of. This is the hard limit. You can't age past this point because it's just impossible. But apparently we're not even anywhere near that point yet because we can keep extending it. There are people there's people that's lived till 120, so at least we know we can make it to that. We can make it further. It's just we need better healthcare.
Science has already proven that we could actually reverse aging. In a way. Like, it's very experimental, but there are studies that are out there where they tested basically injecting particular cell types into rats, and it was able to reverse their age and actually make them younger, where they were able to maintain a lot of their faculties. Now, that came at the cost of lots of tumors, but it was actual experiments that ran in real life. You can look them up, and they actually, yeah, so it is possible. We can reverse aging technically.
Okay.
Fascinating.
In regards to expanding it though, we're not at the
Exactly.
limit.
Yeah, Noodles has it exactly. We can stimulate new cell growth to continue, because what happens is our body says stop producing X type of cells as we get older. Like, just don't do this anymore. But we could command the cells basically to continue doing it.
See, I worry when the day comes when we can take an embryo, someone's pregnant, and we can genetically alter their DNA, so they
Well, we
don't.
already
So
can,
they
can't
don't.
we?
No, to the extent where you can choose what your child's going to look like. You can choose if your child, if they're gonna, let's say they hypothetically might have the extra chromosome to have Down syndrome. They could change that kind of thing. And they can remove disability. They could remove stuff like if the theoretically, so the child isn't born neurodivergent or anything.
This is a rabbit hole. I'm gonna press the Mitch button.
Yeah.
Okay. The
It's
last
true.
25 years.
Sorry.
No, Lexi, you bring up really interesting points, but I want
For
to be
sure.
conservative of time. I don't
Sure,
mean
sure.
to cut you off.
Yeah, and I really want to hear DeMarco's input on the Discord AMA, so we will charge on. But that is a very interesting discussion. The last 25 years of the timeline get really densely packed. There's a lot of entries in a short period of time. In 2305, Barrett joins Constellation, literally 3 words in that entry. 2307, I think, is my personal favorite, so to speak. It's terrible. Most interesting entry to me. The Freestar Collective begins farming on the planet of Vesta in the Lunara system. By 2308, the United Colonies claims that by establishing a colony in a 4th star system, the Freestar Collective has violated the Treaty of Narian. Diplomatic talks break down, and the UC lays siege to Vesta, killing anyone who stayed behind or was brought in to defend it. The colony war officially begins. Lex, you've taken the side of the United Colonies. It's kind of a running joke that I like Freestar Collective, you like United Colonies. Can you defend the United Colonies slaughtering an entire colony of farmers?
Red had his hand raised.
Oh, did he? I missed that.
Yeah.
What do you want to say, Red?
I was just gonna say, is it kind of sus, as the kids would say, that Barrett is like the one that's pointed out? Because wouldn't that sort of suggest that maybe he's like a little more important than
Sarah Morgan is also pointed out.
Every member's on there, actually.
There
So,
you go.
But
yeah,
Barrett's like,
Barrett was.
the giant wars happened. Many people died. The settled systems were occur. Barrett joined, and then just like so random.
I think that's just a consequence of him joining so much earlier than anyone else.
Okay,
Since
gotcha.
this is a timeline,
Yeah,
but that is it's kind of awkwardly.
He joins as that like old generation is probably phasing out, and then they're like, Barrett, hey, and then he because he didn't get any background either. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
He didn't get any background either, but for Sarah Morgan's description, it's like the head lead of the former like secret organization.
Right.
She has a
Barrett
whole
joined.
autobiography written, and then Barrett joined. So I just
I've
wonder if
seen-
he's of
Sorry.
just a kind of relative and was kind of brought in like Silver Spoon almost brought into this mix. Or if it's like a wrong place, wrong time situation, he kind of had to make a choice. And ultimately,
I'm
he was given
wondering
the
if,
ultimatum.
like,
you join
Lex-
Constellation, or we just
I'm wondering if like the Dragonborn, or like he's like Barrett was like almost the chosen one, so he saw the visions, and then you come along and you see them too, but you have a much more profound experience with them and are actually telekinesis-ing people and stuff. So that's why maybe he's like that's all he ever experiences was the visions. So maybe that I want Barrett to be my best friend. I want to see him without a spacesuit. Not to be weird. I just want to see. I want to see what kind of hair he's got and stuff. Anyway, Mitch.
I'd reseat that. I'll redirect back to Lex about the United Colonies slaughtering an entire colony of farmers. Did they get what was coming to them?
I mean, glory to the UC Empire. If they upset the United Colonies, well, they shouldn't have done it. Simple as. I'm just saying.
I said specifically to plant red potatoes. These are Idaho potatoes.
I mean, if they've set up their farms on lands they don't own, or they've failed to, pay their loans, then, we'll wipe away the debt. Review with it. But, I don't know the reason why they did that, but, they must have had their reasons.
It seems like a very aggressive responce.
This is the Republic.
Hey, listen, man, listen. You set up red potatoes.
That's all they had to do. We only asked for one thing: red potatoes.
Yeah,
Idaho
exactly.
potatoes?
They could have been crypto farmers. Like,
what makes less sense to me is the amount of
farming,
the amount of space in space. Unless at the time, the one thing I could understand, maybe, the one thing I could understand is if at the time they only knew of, like, they've already inhabited, let's say, 4 golden worlds, and they only knew of 6 of them. And now Freestar Collective goes, well, actually 5, now we have the 5th out of the 6. And UC goes, what the hell, man?
Okay, that's an interesting take, because we did hear about only 10% of planets supporting native life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like where you're going with that, because I've been thinking about it, there are planets everywhere, why can't they just find a different one? But there aren't too many planets where you can do agriculture, and that's kind of an important thing. So that I'm not going to say it justifies killing all of them, but that does kind of paint the picture a little more.
In real life, farmers have refused to give up land in cities. So I think in the US there's like this farm and it's literally one long strip and all around it is just like skyscrapers. And there's even like in some third world countries, you look at your window and someone's got a patch of crops that they grow because they refuse to sell the land. But then the UC's like, this is our planet, get off. And they're like, no. And then they just gun them down because...
Well, it was nobody's planet, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but the
That was the whole
UC's the
thing, is
big
they
military. If they don't want to give up their land for lots of money, like,
They're the big military, but they lost... One detail we kind of skipped over was they lost the Narian War.
The Narian War.
That's right, they did.
We kind of skipped over it, but they said that the Freestar Collective beat the UC into submission by hit and run tactics using civilian ships, which also might add weight to why they're scared of the farmers.
That's later in the Colony War. This actually happened before that.
Oh, I'm skipping ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. But
maybe that still might be why they're scared of the farmers.
Your point stands that they did win the Narian War because Narian ended up joining the Freestar Collective, and it wasn't before the war.
I'm curious about this uneasy piece. How uneasy is it? Can we like instigate the war by like stealing Pascal Logan sandwiches?
I think that this game is supposed to present what the Skyrim Civil War was. My theory is that Starfield is supposed to realize what the Skyrim Civil War was supposed to be. So we will absolutely be able to propagate.
Well, wasn't that the original thing? Was if you sided with the Imperials, I think you could become High King of Skyrim. I don't know. There was something like that. You could become high. You could. Oh no, wait. Yeah, because you could marry originally. One of the original intents was you could marry the Jarl of Solitude because there's voice lines for it. So,
What?
and then you would have therefore become ruler of Solitude with her. I don't know why that was cut, and that's probably tied to the Civil War.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know the full original scale. I mean, you can tell, like, it's not what they wanted. You've seen how buggy the Civil War is. Like, NPCs fail to load, or they're too slow, or when you're trying
Mitch.
to clear forts. Look, the
We're
point
talking
is,
we're talking
they
about
have
Skyrim in the Starfield
they
stream.
they
Mitch
have the
buttons.
technology. They have the technology now. That's what I was gonna say.
Okay. The next entry comes 3 years into the Colony War. We're now in 2310, and I think this is really, really critical to the main quest. Constellation comes into possession of their first artifact and tucks it away in the Constellation archives. I think there's a relationship there between Constellation finding the artifact and it being during the Colony War. There's been a lot of discussion about why did they tuck it away? Why didn't they investigate it more? I think there's this massive war going on. They might have had more important things to worry about. That's just my opinion, but maybe there's some corruption there. Somebody didn't want the artifact to be investigated. I don't know. Do you have any theories on that? Anyone here?
What I've been saying is that I was curious as to whether or not the artifacts, when they find it, they're like, oh, this is interesting architecture, and then they kind of store it away, not realizing what it is because it was maybe in a dormant state. And then when Barrett finds it later on, which we'll see, it was active, and that's how he knows about the visions. Because if you remember, his introduction to you, as far as we know, is he comes out of his ship and he's like, so you've seen it then? Oh, no, you're the one who found the artifact. You've seen them then. The visions. So he is privy to them in some capacity.
Hi, Pro. Noodles has an interesting theory on it, which is that somebody would tuck it away Noodles says they would have tucked it away if they were having visions around it. So maybe somebody in Constellation picked up the artifact, got a vision, was like, "What the hell was that?" And just like, that was weird, and tucked it away without thinking much of it. That's a legit possibility. I like what you said too, DeMarco. Oh man, any other ideas?
So what exactly? So I'm sorry. What is the main? I'm like, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about specifically when they discover the artifacts?
Yes.
The first time.
Okay, so for the first time, right? Yeah, I mean the thing about the artifacts is that they're not like we don't know how old they are because it was like buried in. I don't want to go on a tangent, but if you know about how like rocks, how planets are made, they start as they're just it's like a snowball basically in space. They build up, and roll from billions and trillions of years, and then they eventually become the size of a planet or whatever, right? Isn't that how that works? I don't know. So something to be buried like that after mining and to be found that way, it's got to be really, really, really old. But if it gave you visions, yeah, I would say that I would be like, let's not tell the UC about this, probably. Especially if it's floating around with no, like, even for all like the technology that we have in Starfield, for something to just be like magically doing space magic stuff, that would probably scare the hell out of pretty much everyone still, even with all the tech that we have. So yeah, I agree with that. Nudes. Oh, what's this? Something resembling Nirnroot was seen in the Starfield Direct. Is Elder Scrolls canon to Starfield? Yeah, 100%, my dudes. For real, for real. You're a dummy. Whoever said that. No, I'm kidding.
So
I'm kidding.
in the background of Constellation coming into possession of the artifact, not sure of the circumstances of that. I'm sure we'll find them out. The Colony War is still going on, and it's the following year in 2311 that after several years of conflict, the Colony War effectively comes to an end with the Battle of Cheyenne, a Freestar Collective system, as a flotilla of civilian and military Freestar Collective ships takes down the major ships of the UC Navy using hit-and-run tactics. You alluded to it earlier, DeMarco. Interesting.
That's why they didn't like the farmers.
No.
That's why.
Because they can do that guerrilla warfare.
They can do that guerrilla warfare. I mean,
Like
even
the
if
rebels
especially...
and the Empire. I've been saying it for. Doesn't that remind you of that? Like, no. We have a strict formula to follow. Let our generals decide for us what our battle formations will be. And they're like, dude, we could just like sneak in there and like blow their asses up with a bomb. And that's what the rebels, aka the Freestar Collective, were doing. Like, we're gonna like, these guys are outsmarting their common sense, their militaristic ideals, and yeah. I love this so much. God, I love this. DeMarco, do you love this? I didn't hear what he said. He just went.
I think he nodded. He nodded.
I said, I love it.
Okay.
Oh, we did not hear that.
You're just like, all right.
In 2315, 4 years after the end of the Colony War, the UC Vanguard is founded as part of the UC response to the Freestar Collective's use of civilian ships during the Colony War. The Vanguard is the UC's own civilian navy, relying on civilians using their own ships who pledge to protect the United Colonies and its interests. The ultimate reward for this service? Citizenship in the United Colonies. So now the United Colonies, after slaughtering all the farmers on Vespa, is now hanging citizenship over the heads of desperate people, saying, use your own ship to fight for us and we'll make you a citizen. I'm loving the United Colonies so far. Gotta say.
Why, like, wouldn't that be considered like a trash move to use civilians as like, so like the Freestar are using they use civilian ships so as a buffer, because they know if they don't look out and then they get ambushed, and that's like a Trojan horse, except it's using innocents. That's kind of messed up, Freestar Collective fans. Just saying. United Colonies for life.
This is 2315. And
Okay.
I absolutely agree, Lex. I think that's a pretty trash move.
Mitch, how can you like the Freestar Collective? Seriously.
Well, Danilo Jonathan in chat has an interesting take. Like I posted somewhere, UC can't have a space station because they're supposedly expanding their borders, but Freestar can farm other systems? I'm totally with UC. That is very interesting. I like that. I like that take a lot. I don't think I fully agree, but I really, really like that take, because I've been struggling to see the defense of the United Colonies in this timeline, and I think that's a very strong defense for them.
I mean, the Vanguard is essentially, that's like your easy way in. You're a mercenary. I mean, that's what that is. I mean, mercenaries in real life are paid based like the Suicide Squad, DeMarco. Like, you could die, we don't care. I mean, the Suicide Squad without all the caveats that goes into that, but like, you could die, we're gonna pay you, we don't care. You're signing off on this thing, but there's no strings attached. This is all you saying it. We're not guaranteeing anything. And the mercenaries go in there and they do whatever they can, because they can't escape their new way of life, which is war. Vanguard seems to be more of a civilized in comparison way of like, we're offering you a chance to make big bucks at a risk, but it's up to you. It's up to you. You know, it's mercenaries. That's what it is.
Do you know what I'm gonna do?
I don't see it as like a terrible thing, but
I will climb to the highest rank of the UC Vanguard, and once I've done that, they won't hear from me again. I've got my reward, got my achievement. I'm not taking any more jobs. I'm only in it for the rewards. And once they've run out of rewards, I'm gone. I'm long gone.
yeah, it's scary out there, Mitch.
2319. We got a 2319. 2319. Sarah Morgan becomes the youngest head of the UC. I'm just gonna. Sarah Morgan becomes the youngest head of the UC Navigator Corps, a new organization that we've learned about. It's a short-lived position as the division is shut down in 2320. Cast adrift, but still eager to put her training to good use, Morgan joins Constellation. So that's when she joins. She is the second most senior member, I believe, second only to Barrett, joining in 2319.
And she's British. So yeah.
I'm getting a lot of people getting a kick out of the Monsters Inc. reference. Very cute. In 2321, Walter Stroud, co-owner of Stroud Eklund, I love that name. It sounds just like a hedge fund. It's amazing. One of the Settled Systems' premier starship manufacturers, joins Constellation and becomes its primary financial backer. I wonder what his benefit is. Maybe he wants to get money out of the artifacts. Although at this point, no one knows about the artifacts because we'll find out about that later. But I do wonder what Walter's motivation is in dumping all this money into Constellation. It's not real estate.
There's only so many. He might have been lured because obviously there's the appeal, and we still don't have the answer as to why they are the last group of space explorers. So to him, it might simply be he has money. That's the appeal. Like, why are we not? On top of that, you are coming in the aftermath of everything that had happened with the Colony War. So someone said it before, but Constellations might just be trying to get away. I saw that in chat earlier, and so he goes, "Yeah, I don't want to be doing this. You guys can find a way out of this crap. Like, we can go further than we ever have gone. Let's do that. We'll do our own. We'll be the freer Free Star Collective."
The freer Free Star.
I think we'll skip over individual people joining Constellation just because that's right now that's not going to have a huge consequence on our understanding of the universe. The next big one is in 2326 when Barrett finds the original artifact that was stowed away many years ago during the Colony War. He finds that in the Constellation archives and knows it must be special. So I guess this sounds like Barrett's personal mission to figure out what these artifacts are all about. And that's been kind of his life for the 3 or 4 years leading up to the game in 2330.
So how old is Barrett?
He touches it?
What?
He touches it?
He must touch it, yeah.
Wait,
visions?
how old is Barrett? And Barrett's one of the romanceable companions, right?
He's 42.
He's on the older side. If you're playing like a 20-year-old, you can role play as Leonardo DiCaprio and one of his young wives. I don't know. That's off topic. Doesn't matter.
Let's talk about that.
DeMarco has only a few minutes left, and I really want to get to the Discord AMA with him. The last one that is not just new people joining Constellation is in 2328, really not a long time before the game. Just about 2 years, when Barrett convinces Constellation to purchase Star Station L868 and modify it to become a deep space scanner nicknamed the Eye. That's what we saw in the 2018 teaser.
The Eye.
That's how they're finding the artifacts.
Do you think so?
Yeah, that's my
Giant
guess. Because
satellite.
obviously these artifacts are doing, and they even say in the teaser trailer, and while I don't remember the exact words that are said, but I remember that they're talking about the artifacts, they're talking about these like ruins that are left behind and these ancient things, and they're showcasing the shot in one of the trailers of, it looks like a moon, and then you have the big structures that are kind of going up and stuff floating in the air, and they're talking about the artifacts. And so I have a hard time believing, because there's not only these structures that exist out there that house it, you also have these gigantic, powerful things that are emanating some kind of energy that perhaps whatever is causing the visions, if it can be explained by science, is something that can be tracked. And the Eye is the one to do it. That's why it's called the Eye, because it sees them.
Oh.
Interesting.
Unless it's like Brother Eye for Batman, or Justice League, but that's different. I don't think it's that. So, there you go.
Right. So Noodle says the eye equals the James Webb Space Telescope. I like that. Danilo does bring up a good point. That one of the entries mentions that Samco has a daughter, Cora, which was previously unknown. That is worth mentioning. One of the members of Constellation, Samco, has a daughter who is also a member of Constellation. Thanks, Danilo, for bringing that up. I shouldn't have glossed over that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Now that brings us to 2330 when the game takes place, and that story will be continued. And I'm sure, I think DeMarco, you said it, there's going to be so much more of this timeline. I think that's going to get fleshed out as we explore the game.
Mhm.
But that is a great start, and oh man, the Narian War is just crazy.
Awesome. It's the coolest
Crazy
war.
awesome.
Would you have liked if the game took place during one of the wars instead of in the aftermath of it, or do you think the setting is more interesting in the aftermath?
Aftermath's always the best because it's always. Like, I speak a lot of stuff that people would consider on the left side of politics, but I consider myself neutral. I'm just on the side of being a decent person. But video game politics, I speak about them all day. And after every war, it's always political. You know, when World War II ended, all the governments came together. Churchill, whoever was president at the time, even Stalin was there. Because Russia helped in World War II, which was before the Cold War, and which started right after. Anyway, it's always political after a war ends, and if it's an uneasy peace, like Camille originally said, then it's still political. So there's a lot of politics going on, fictional politics. So, yeah. That's all I wanted to say.
You're talking about politics, and Red is getting very comfortable with his chair.
I was trying to fix it. It's like It's like tilting. Okay. How did that happen? The hell?
It was also in 2328, by the way, that Andreja joined Constellation. So that's another member that we don't know what she looks like. I don't know anything about her. So Andreja is another member of Constellation. She joins pretty late.
Who's the mole? Who's the mole? There's a mole.
Oh, I don't know.
I guarantee there's a mole. Or the entire faction's evil. One of the two. We're the bad guys all along.
Yeah.
I'm telling
But Lex, I agree with you that I think the aftermath of the colony war is a little more interesting because there's so much like political turmoil. I love that example you used of right after World War II. Yeah, you were spot on with that. I'm excited for a similar dynamic in Starfield.
Nice.
So, any closing thoughts on the timeline?
It's very cool, but the Starfield watch is confusing because it's got an established date and it's Constellation branded. But it's not talking about the foundation of Constellation. So what is it talking about? Is it the watch date, like when the not created the watch, when the watch company was founded,
Chronomax.
or Chronomark?
Chronomark. I think it's when Chronomark was founded.
I don't know who owns Chronomark, but people say it also lines up with the Freestar Collective's date, which officially was a year after, but that's officially. Because organizations have to go through government bodies to become actual organizations. You know, you could have a local business, but as far as the world's concerned, it's not a business until you've registered it. And you have to register to start doing products anyway. So.
Sure. It was 2188 when Solomon Co. initially invited Voli to join Cheyenne in a new alliance, and then that, as you say, Lex, that was officially formed in 2189. So what that date is referring to on the watch, I think that's inconclusive right now, but it's definitely not Constellation's founding.
It's just really bizarre because it's Constellation branded. So that's why we've always assumed that it was a Constellation's date, but we've been proven wrong.
We've been proven wrong many times on many different topics.
Could just be that Constellation. I mean, you can get a branded T-shirt with a branded Nike T-shirt, but that doesn't mean Nike only works with you. Like I could go make a DeMarco D right now. I could go make a DeMarco Dude T-shirt with my logo on it.
Yeah, but it's not
it's
not a normal watch though. It's a scientific watch.
Well, that's they're so theoretically Constellation is not the exclusive. They're the last group of space explorers, but there might have been others, and there's other scientists.
Of course, yeah. Because to be the last, there has to be. And actually, you brought that up. That's why I think Constellation, it's somewhat evil, because what happened to all the other space explorers? If they're the last, then when they were founded, surely there were more. Like, what's going on there?
You got bought or indoctrinated into the UC or the Freestar Collective, perhaps?
Damn, capitalism.
And only one remained independent, which would be Constellation? Thinking off the top of my head.
You guys ready to jump into this juicy new info that we got from the Starfield Q&A today, baby?
Yeah.
Boom, hit that like button, subscribe, and leave your this is not the Renegade Run podcast. Let me stop because
yes, before I bonk you.
This dude.
Yes. Oh my God, what does that mean? Okay, well, go ahead.
I'll get a baseball bat and I'll just like tap your head.
Oh, bonk me. Okay.
Bonk.
Gotcha.
You go to horny jail.
Appreciate the segue, Wolf. We had a new AMA on Discord. Will Shen, who is the lead quest designer on Starfield, and Emil Pagliarulo. We've talked about him a lot on the show. He's the design director on Starfield. The two of them did an AMA on Discord, and anybody could ask questions. Bethesda kind of handpicked the questions a little bit, but they were actual questions from the community. And there were 16 of them, so we'll just go through these. Some of them are pretty quick. Some of them weren't a lot of discussion. The first one, pretty straightforward. Housing and property, can they be purchased in the main cities? Yes, some of these will be purchased. Others will be rewards from quests, but there will be property, houses, etc., that we can own in your New Atlantis, in your Aquila City, in your Neon.
Love that. So I was so happy to hear that.
I love it.
I was like surprised, but not like
I love that, but I'd rather build my own town. If that makes sense. I'd rather
do that too.
instead of why would I want to own a house when I could build a village and tax people and then get money from tax?
You want to be
instead of me being taxed, I can tax them.
You want to be in New Atlantis, right in the center, right in Neon, in the slums.
No, I want my own planet where I can tax.
Is there nothing appealing about having like a nice penthouse suite in one of the tallest towers in New Atlantis? Like, I think that sounds sick.
It's cool, but you'd be lonely, right?
You can get a spouse.
Versus on a desolate planet? Wait, did you say you'd be lonely in New Atlantis versus an isolated planet?
No, because I can get settlers who will pay me tax money, and I will set the tax really high. And I will be rich in no time.
Subjugate my population.
I'll rule them with an iron fist. I will turn this. I've turned this barren planet.
Well, you could just work it off.
I will have an economy, and I'll put it near a randomly generated settlement. So there's 2 settlements, but my settlement's better, and I have the cool stuff and all the cool farms. But you have to pay more tax because I want to get rich, and I need to keep people in line. So I'm the wealthiest person because capitalism.
To remind me never, if you ever build a settlement, never to go live there.
Noodles asked a pretty pertinent question about this. He asked, do you guys think all outposts will be fish bowls, or can we make them a town like Aquila City? And I think the question is that it will be a pretty large fish bowl, because we could actually see the border of like the boundary of where you could build in your outpost in some of the gameplay.
From what we've seen, it's way bigger. It's huge. Like, it's probably like a little bit bigger than the largest settlements that are in Fallout 4. And Sanctuary is the biggest, but I think it covers a wider axis. So with
it's like 5 times bigger from what I've seen. It's like
It probably, but it's more rounded. It's more like a circle, like the 76 camp. I'd say. It's more like a bubble. Or
I seriously think it's like 4 Fallout 4 bases put together.
What
'Cause there's the one shot from the first time that we saw it, where it drops down, and then it shows the big border, and then it shows what it becomes, and you can see like way ass out in the distance. There's all those
I mean, you could,
drills.
providing the like building capacity is quite large for them. You could build a town in that, right? And like have people come and visit. Like nobody would visit a barren world, but if you make a settlement there, they'll come visit. You can get settlements set up like you could in Fallout 4. Except this time, you're not in a wasteland. You can have an actual economy, like a proper one.
Yeah.
I misunderstood Noodle's question. He was asking when he said, "Do you think the outposts will be like fish bowls?" It meant, will they all be airtight, or can we build open air settlements like Aquila City? That is a great question.
Yeah, and also I've actually wondered the exact same thing. Are they always going to be these hab like enclosed, round, spacey looking things? Will we be able to build straight up like space walls and structures, like Fallout and stuff like that?
You couldn't build individual walls. Everything was module based, wasn't it? So
that's what
perhaps,
we saw,
yeah. So perhaps it's unconfirmed at the moment, I guess is the answer. Perhaps there's an opportunity to have like a sunroom that's more open. Or even something kind of similar to in Fallout 4, there's I think it was like a retirement home, and it had this outdoor garden-ish area, so there were walls all around it. And then there was like a middle of it was like outside, and maybe you could do something like that.
From what we've seen, it kind of looks like what you'd see in an aquarium, the kind of like square, rounded rooms, not square, circle, cylinder, like, and like glass roofs and tunnels. I think there's going to be a mix, because if you go back to the leaked assets from like 2018 or whatever, a lot of them are square. So I think surely we'll be able to build cool, other more creative stuff rather than just, oh, this is what concept of living on Mars is going to be like. Like more like you could build a regular town, like say one of the bigger settlements, but you'd have to get pretty creative because it's the settlement building. Like that's important. Like people love it, but then again, people don't want it forced, which is great. But I don't think it was really forced in Fallout 4. You could pretty much skip it, unless you wanted to side with the Minutemen, at least.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be optional.
Yeah. Sure. The second question was one that I'd silently been wondering about. That it was great to hear confirmation on this. Will the kid stuff trait generate parents that look like our character? And the answer is yes. There will be similar tech to previous games, and no matter what your character looks like, you'll have two parents if you take the kid stuff trait who look kind of like your character. Just delightful little detail that I'm happy to hear is in the game. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel, because going off the previous tech, the differences in you know the word I'm trying to say.
Next topic? No, I'm kidding.
Like Liam Neeson, only his skin tone changes, I think. And that's it. And the same with Father, only his skin tone changes. Not much, hardly anything else changes from what I've seen.
Like he called him Liam Neeson. He didn't...
He's called your dad. What's his name?
Right.
Paul. Oh, James.
Father.
James.
Oh.
James is Fallout 3.
Yep.
James Wanderer.
I immediately understood what you meant, though. But
wait, he's Liam Neeson, okay? You can't unhear Liam Neeson.
Wow, look at this. He's a boy. I found him.
Actually, I'm pretty sure the mother doesn't really change in Fallout 3 either. But then again, they all look like potatoes, so it's hard to tell. But with Sean, I've only ever noticed his skin change, so I don't know how I feel, how much they're going to change, depending on what I pick.
Third question dealt with new players, people who haven't played BGS games before. Not sure how many in this audience fall into that category, but they asked advice for somebody who's new to a BGS game. Our heroes here, Emil and Will, said go at your own pace, and you can role play if you wish. You can be really heavy with it in Starfield, or you can do none at all. But just go at your own pace, and soon you'll find yourself understanding the many, many different systems that make up the game. Thought that was pretty good advice for new players.
Yeah, I was happy that they. It's a nice question to hear, especially from them. You know.
Noodle says L question.
For a lot of us, yes, but there's also a lot of people that aren't us. So I try to keep that in mind.
This is just such an important game because this is the Skyrim of the generation. This game is going to be going on for so long, and it is people's Skyrim if they've never played
Skyrim of the generation, but that's Skyrim.
They'll think of people will think of Bethesda Game Studios and their mind will go to Starfield, not Skyrim, not Fallout. They'll think Starfield.
Right.
No,
exactly.
Please don't tell me Elder Scrolls 6 launch exclusive. Get the next gen port of Starfield coming 2028.
DeMarco, I don't want you to. I don't want to invade your life, so I just want to notify you that it's.
I could do one or two more if we hustle.
Sure.
There's one I was so excited about. I don't know which number it is, but go ahead.
Okay. The fourth question was, how does the smuggling system work? I think this might have been that question, Wolf. How does the smuggling system work? The way it works is certain items will be marked as contraband. The example they gave in the AMA was human organs, and these are basically illegal everywhere. And contraband needs to be smuggled past security ships, which are in orbit of major settlements. They kind of dodged the question of how do you actually hide the contraband? Is it in like its own container?
No, they said it. You get ship upgrades that allow you to you can buy ship upgrades that will allow you to hide it from sensors, so that when you do get scanned, it doesn't pop up. Now, what wasn't clarified and where my thing comes in is whether or not how does it weigh the level of contraband that you have? So is it based on, for example, the weight capacity? So if I have, arguably speaking, 50 pounds of because we use freedom units here, 50 pounds of contraband, do I need a level 2 sensor for that? And if I hit 51 pounds, well, now I need a level 3 sensor because that's over. So they'll see that.
I would say it's probably more on currency. So what
or value? Yeah, value might be a better metric.
Right. Yeah. Which this is like the one thing. And check out my video on Red Wolf Renegade Duck. I almost said .com. Yeah, in my video, I actually touched on this because in No Man's Sky, of course, you got to compare it, right? They have the contraband blockers that you can buy, and it did have a limit. And so, you would get stopped by the authorities and say, hey, we're going to scan you for contraband. And you'd be like, do I have a blocker on right now? Because you would run into authorities all the time, and like you're just trying to get back to where you need to be. Maybe you don't have enough money to buy a blocker, and so getting to your destination, that moment when the authorities roll up on you in Starfield, and you got something on, you're like, oh god, hey, hang on, let's scan you real quick, and you're like, oh god, did I go over my limit? Oh my god, and they're like, you're clear, and you're like, yes, that is like, I loved it. I was so happy about this. So happy.
This is great. I knew that'd be right in your wheelhouse. It was a great answer to the question. And the reason I was thinking they had dodged that part that you brought up, DeMarco, about how you actually hide the contraband, I think they followed up in another message with that. And I had already taken notes on the first bit and then forgot to take notes. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They did talk about how you actually hide the contraband, and it is with those modules for your ship. The next question dealt with the. I'm sorry, did I cut someone off?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, you'd be like a signal jammer.
Oh sure, yeah, in that specific module.
But you'd need one that was on the right frequency, so I suppose that'll be an expensive upgrade, because you'd need to get information regarding what wavelength it uses, because each I guess I don't think they'd use X-rays in the for that. I think I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know, but we did see the ship getting scanned. Yeah, we'll find out how that works. But
some
the
sort
fifth
of scanner.
question,
Yeah.
yeah, the fifth question dealt with the jail and crime system, and this is going to be closer to the Elder Scrolls than Fallout, where you can kind of choose your own path when you commit a crime. You can go to jail, you can pay a fine, or you can try to fight and run away. But they also explore crime and punishment as kind of a theme in the game's content, whether that's through quests or they were pretty vague, kind of a tease with that one. I wasn't sure what they meant, but they are going to explore that whole idea of crime and punishment in this society. As far as how it impacts the gameplay, you can, as Jonas says, pay the court a fine and be on your way, or you can go to jail. I don't believe there's word on if we can escape jail. Was there?
They
said it's
said
like
Skyrim,
Skyrim. Yeah.
which would entail you can get caught and escape and all
So-
that stuff.
That was the other
Right.
thing that I
Breakout.
was like
Implication.
so happy about. That.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then
Yeah.
Emil called us everybody a bunch of criminals.
We saw that the shortcut the segment where there was a fully armored, kitted Crimson Fleet guy behind a jail cell. Why he had his clothes on, I don't know, but he was there inside of a jail cell. But that was speculation, now proven to be true. So
I wish they brought back the Daggerfall court system, where you physically have to go to court, and then they'll determine if you're guilty or not guilty. It sounds complicated, but you can simplify it. It would be awesome, and I hope modders, if anyone wants to do that, that'll be amazing for a mod, because jail, right? You know, you get to go to court. Imagine that. You know, Barrett's in the back, or Vasco's watching. Vasco testifies. I don't know. It'd be fun, right?
he's like,
Yeah.
I love him. He is innocent.
I was most intrigued by their inclusion of, we really kind of tested that out in our game, and with the timeline that we have and the time it takes place in, that we played with the themes of crime and punishment. And my personal hope is that each faction will handle it a little bit differently, where you get arrested, go to jail, plain and simple. Crimson Fleet, those suckers will shoot you on sight. You do something wrong they don't like. The Freestar Collective, we saw that one shot in the trailer of them having the true spaghetti western standoff
Yes.
duel with one another. And so, hey, you can not go to jail, but hey, sucker, we're dueling at midnight at
We're doing
sundown,
this.
at high noon. And so I would really like to see, and I think that's a way they could differentiate it a bit from Skyrim as well, so that you don't feel when you get locked in a jail cell, you go, or when you have a crime, a bounty that gets put upon you, you don't just think, okay, I just go to jail, I find the way out, I could get the way out, or I could just sleep in the bed and go to sleep. We've done that before. So to spice it up a bit, if every faction handled it in a unique way, that would be my personal improvement.
You bring that up,
Or wish.
but I've never noticed. In Skyrim, can you physically wait your sentence? Or
Yeah,
do you
go sleep in the bed?
No, without sleeping in the bed. Like,
No. Oh, no, I don't think so.
Don't think so. I think I looked that up one time.
that sucks. That would be awesome if, like, you wait so many hours and a guard comes to your door and, like, you're free. And you can just walk out instead of teleporting. I don't know. I'm not Bethesda. I'd love to wait out my sentence. You have to go to the prison mealtime place. So you're in the meal room, you start a fight with all the other inmates. I don't know. Be a fun food fight, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Question 6.
Well,
Noodles.
Before you get into that, I do have to hop off.
Okay.
But thank you for host. This was so much fun to do. And good luck with the rest of the stream for each of you.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate you being here. For real.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
See you, man.
Take care, DeMarco.
Hang on, everyone. I've got to.
God, now we can be loose, right? And hang out.
I can still hear you.
Oh, there's 2 of me. Oh,
Bye,
God.
everybody.
See you, DeMarco.
Right. So you are now DeMarco. can
All
hide.
right.
There's two of you now, so there's two Mitches. Nice.
And there's
Mhm.
no wolf.
Bear with us,
Yeah,
chat,
I'm
while
not
we
even
get
there
this sorted.
anymore. Yeah. So listen, guys. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm so used to hosting, and I'm used to just like talking to the chat so much. So many of you guys are in the chat talking, and I'm sorry we've been so engrossed in this conversation talking to each other that it's just been kind of hard to like look down. But like Noodles, you have been very active. Danilo says, "What if I'm playing melee only? How would I duel?" I think that duel was just for show. It could have been. I think it was just sort of trying to portray how Aquila City is very. It's got the Western vibe. Had the little Western twang going on whenever it was showing it. So I think that was really all that was. Noodle says this is much different than Skyrim. I don't think we will be kept in a barred cell that we can that we can pickpocket. Well, Noodles, we did see the like I said, we did see the little segment where we were in a cell. Someone was in a cell. So there are jail cells, but they said that there was different types of crime and punishment depending on what system that you were in. So yeah, so there's that. Looks like we're all sorted out. Good to go.
I think so. And I wouldn't, on that dueling thing, I wouldn't go so far as to categorize that as like a mini game like you see in Red Dead Redemption.
Right.
I think that was just like they literally had the player character just unholster their weapon while looking at someone else, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because they literally would just like, it wasn't like a full on like, I mean that would be cool. If you can pay your sentence, I think you lose skill progress, like in Skyrim. Why does that sound real? Didn't we hear about that?
So yeah, that's absolutely right.
That
If
is
you
real.
yeah, if you serve a jail sentence in Skyrim, all of your skill progress is reset. Which isn't to say that
wasn't
all
that.
of all,
I thought that was Oblivion. I'm sorry to interrupt. I thought that was just Oblivion. Is that still in Skyrim?
I think it's in Skyrim too.
Okay.
It's
I play
not
with mods.
that-
I don't know.
I mean, it's not that harsh of a penalty because how long does it take to level up the skill if you spam it?
Right.
3 or 4 minutes.
I think things like that really make you want to avoid getting in trouble. Lexi mentioned the court system. I don't want to go to court. So yeah, I'm gonna if I'm gonna be sneaking around, I'm gonna be safe scumming, for one. Number two, I don't want to deal with losing my skills, going to court. Because of course, as somebody who role plays when I'm playing an RPG, I would actively be thinking about the consequence that I would have to deal with in game, knowing that I would have to go through that process and saying, I really got to be careful what I'm doing. It makes things feel more dangerous.
Sure.
Skyrim
Agree.
does it. Okay, sorry. I play with mods. I thank you, Orman Longfree. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So with the nature of ranking up skills this time around, Danilo brings up a great point. I don't think they can justifiably take away, if you have to kill 250 enemies, I don't think they can justifiably take away your progress of 249 enemies just because you stole a bottle of water.
Great point. Right. Yeah. It took us 200 days to get that bottle of water. We're water farmers. Moisture farmers, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But the next question, we were talking about L questions earlier. I think this is an L question, to be honest. If there was one question on here that was no question, it'd be this one. Will time pass when you are not playing the game? The answer is no. You have to be playing the game in order for time to pass in the simulation. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm just not understanding what that question was asking, but that's never something they've done before. I'm not. Yeah,
I think
thank you,
maybe,
Noodles.
I think maybe they were this game. Talk about Baldur's Gate 3 with devs freaking out about, is this the new standard? This game is so massive, like no pun intended, but just everything. People are like, it's the next Cyberpunk, and not saying that it's going. Calm down. It's not what I meant. I just mean like it's the game that people are like speculating on so much. Like, I wonder if we can like we actually have to take a poop. We're gonna have a poop stat, and like we're gonna have to like they're going all out on all this technical, all these little features and stuff. Sorry, what was the question? Oh yeah, so people are like, does that mean that whenever I put my game down, like the world is gonna like go on without me? Same thing like with what Danilo was saying. Like I don't think that they don't, just because Aquila City is a Western toned city, we're not gonna have duels. You know what I mean?
So Orman Longfree brings up a great response to this question, and I think they might be right. They were trying to see if it had free to play or mobile tactics. I think this is a very clever way of trying to see if there were going to be timed instances where you have to wait 3 hours to get this new module on your ship, that sort of thing. Very, very clever way of asking that.
Oh, okay,
I
nice,
think
Orman. Okay,
that's what the
that's
question
really
was
good.
getting at.
And they knew. They're like, but Emel's not gonna come out and be like, no, it's not. It's not a. He was like, no, the game does not go on without you being there. You know. Yeah. Wow. Sneaky little guys.
Especially in light of the ESRB rating that talked about in-game purchases. So this L question, I think, suddenly became maybe one of the best questions because it puts to
Okay.
rest one of the biggest fears about the game.
Is it okay if I use the bathroom real quick? I don't know what the next question is. I don't want to miss anything that I love.
Yeah, 7 and 8 aren't super in depth, so yeah, now's a good time.
You are forbidden. I'm kidding. Going over pee pee poo poo. Why did
So,
you disconnect? Oh,
did he
didn't.
disconnect? Oh, okay.
Oh no, it's back.
Oh yeah, he did. Oh, that was weird. So, question 7 then. Can you join all factions in one playthrough? And Wilshen confirmed that yes, you can complete the quest lines for every faction independently of one another. This was huge. So it's not going to. What's really interesting about that, though, is that you have the Freestar Collective and the United Colonies who are vehemently opposed to each other. It's not going to be like the Imperials and Stormcloaks where you have to pick one or the other. You can actually complete quest lines for both of them, which means that in neither of those cases will we be determining which side wins or gains control of the settled systems, if that makes sense.
Mm.
They also noted that with the Crimson Fleet quest line, you start out as a double agent for UC SysDef, System Defense, which we already knew, and then you can side with them later on, or you can kind of be that double agent and be honorable to SysDef and kind of root out the Crimson Fleet pirates. Captain Takashi says, still no mention of oceans and underwater LQ&A. I think there was one mention somewhere of underwater gameplay. It might have been in like the Todd Howard AMA. I think the gameplay's there. How in depth it goes, that's probably another question, but I think we can go to question 8, which is, can you be a pacifist? So it seemed like they considered allowing players to do like non-lethal playthroughs, but they just determined they couldn't really do that while still fulfilling the vision they had for the game. So you can't do a non-lethal completion of the main quest, it sounds like. But there are more systems, like the persuasion minigame is back. There's more emphasis on kind of social interaction rather than just combat. Fallout 4 went very, very combat heavy. They kind of watered down the dialogue, improved the gunplay, and that was kind of reflected in where they emphasized that stuff in the content of the game. I think we're seeing a bit of a reversal on that in Starfield, where they're kind of opening it up more, letting you kind of choose your path a little bit more in like a situation by situation basis, but not to the extent that you can play the whole game without killing anybody. So, Noodle says, sounds like a challenge to me. I look forward to your non-lethal playthrough.
Just ignore what I'm doing, please. There we go.
We need an ocean.
We need an ocean. Is that what you said?
I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have put any candy in my mouth. We need an ocean. How are we not supposed, I'm gonna like end up gleeking everywhere. How are we supposed to like have a jetpack and not, were they gonna put like walls all over the place? Like Camino, well, Camino doesn't even have walls. It's just like you just slide down. Matter of fact, Camino is built rounded. So you trip on Camino, you're gonna slide right off that, right into the depths of the ocean. I've been so curious about the oceans. I feel like it's gonna, like Lex said one time, you're just gonna fall off and die.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Just
really
like
disappointing. But it's like, what can we expect though? You're gonna fall into an ocean that's it's an endless, vast ocean of nothing, and you can't get back out because Neon is so high up. I don't know. We don't know if there's a lower platform to Neon and then an elevator that takes you up. You know,
it would be pretty.
That
boring.
might be what it is.
So Niturnal's right. There should be an ocean on Voli where Neon is located. However, what happens when you get into that ocean? We know Neon is on a fishing platform that's many meters above the water. So they could just kill us as soon as we fall off the fishing platform to try to dive in the water. And when we're entering the planet, they can lock us to only being able to land on Neon. There is, from everything we know about the systems of the game, they do have the ability to lock us down to just Neon on that planet and killing us if we try to go anywhere else.
I think that's what it's going to be. I think that we're going to have sort of like high fences that no matter, we can't get out of it. The platform that we land on, if you look at the concept art for Neon, which I have like on my Xbox dashboard, it does look like there is a lower portion of Neon, which maybe that's like where you land and then you go up and you take an elevator up into the city of Neon. But whenever you land there, I'm sure that there are high fences that you can't really get over, and they can just say it's too dangerous. That's why we have fences up. The lore reason is there's 3 billion ton megalodons out there, stuff like that. But Neon is my favorite. I don't know if I've expressed my love for Neon. I'm gonna be a Neon street rat.
Neon Street Rat, love it. They talked about so in chat there's a really good discussion going on about water. Captain Takashi feels very strongly that there's no chance they can do that. They've always let us explore water. No reason to believe they won't let us do it again. Danilo says we can just swim forever. Niturnal says they just have to make it like slow moving, low gravity to simulate being underwater. And Noodles said that the Hogwarts Legacy community, before that game came out, had a very similar discussion of whether you can dive into the water. Hogwarts has that giant lake behind it, and there's a sign that says no diving, and I don't think they let you go in the water. Which is great.
I think they could take an example where, I don't know, the acidity of the... acidity, like acid of like the water, maybe the pH levels too bad, or they do something like the Red Sea or the Black Sea, I can't remember, or is it the Dead Sea?
Very buoyant. I think it's the Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea, yeah. I think one of them has too much salt and like literally nothing could reasonably live. I mean, I don't know, because we know there's Aurora in the ocean. Maybe it's just hostile. Maybe it's just full of predators. Giant alien squid anime monsters.
Where's Chris Hansen when you need him, am I right?
I don't know, man.
Maybe he's in the game.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Question 9 is my favorite out of the whole bunch, and it deals with religions. What are the backgrounds of these religions? What are their beliefs? What are the backstories for each one? And Will and Emil went into so much detail for, I think it was mostly Emil, went into so much detail for 3 religions we see in the game, and those are Sanctum Universum, the Enlightened, and House Varun. We didn't know much about the religions. We knew it was going to be an element to the universe. Now we have so much more information. Strap in, because this is fantastic. So Sanctum Universum is an organization that is only a couple decades old in game. They believe that God exists in the universe and that space travel is God's way of telling humanity, I'm out here, come find me. And they believe that space travel brings humanity closer to God. So they are very much in favor of exploring more because it will bring them closer to God, basically. And I believe it is the Christian God. This seems like an evolution of Christianity or the Abrahamic religions. Forgive me.
Look at you.
Well, I'm curious because they say Christianity still exists, right? What Christianity exists? Are we talking a Church of England
the game?
or are we talking the Church of England or like Vatican City Catholic?
Well, like I said, I think this is more the Abrahamic religions all worship the same God. Abrahamic religions being Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So I think it's kind of maybe just an extension of those three, is Sanctum Universum, rather than a specific denomination. And they also noted that real world religions still exist in the Starfield universe. And these are kind of new religions that have formed.
So, Mitch is holding so still, I thought he was frozen. I was like, hello, are you okay? So when the Adoring Fan in Starfield runs up and he says, by Vectera, by Vectera, by Vectera! The Vectera is the serpent god that they worship, right? Isn't that the same one?
That is House Varun.
Okay.
We will get there. But this is
Okay, sorry.
no, you're good. I just want to make sure that nobody thinks like, Sanctum Universum worships the serpent or something, because they don't. They worship basically the same God that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism worship.
Thank you, Noodles. I appreciate that. Stay tuned for more settled systems.
The Enlightened, however, kind of on the complete flip side, is another religious organization we learned about, and they're atheists. They don't believe in a higher power, but they're very much focused on humanitarian and community work. They believe that life is something every person has to take responsibility for, and improving humanity is on us. We gotta do what we can to improve our situation. We can't rely on some higher power. That's the very grounded take from the Enlightened there.
I mean,
And then
the way religion's going at the moment, it's kind of crazy because a lot of people weaponize it these days. Where they're like, well, the Bible says this, and it's like, well, the Bible shouldn't dictate your life. You make your own choices, Do you think it's right? Don't go off on a book that's written by scripture. And by the way, the Bible, the English version is not very well translated. So, like the Adam and Eve, the rib thing, they didn't say rib. And if you go to the someone broke it down, one of the original, they just took a piece of him, like his chest, I guess. I don't know, I thought that was interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning in that again, we do have real world religions that still exist in Starfield. There just won't be too much focus on those, I think is what Emil said. And then finally we have House Varun. Be ready, y'all, because I'm going to ask you which one's your favorite. Wolf, what does a worshiper of House Varun say? I think Noodles wanted you to say it.
By Vectera, by Vectera, by Vectera!
That's so good. That is really, really good.
Thanks.
So House Varun, in the game, we aren't sure of the full truth about Varun. They're very mysterious, and I think there might be some conflicting information about them. No one really knows what's up. But Emil says the gossip among the guards, so to speak, is this. A colony ship sets off for a new world, making grav jumps along the way. And after one of those grav jumps, one of the passengers claims he spent that time communing with a celestial entity known as the Great Serpent. What was a few seconds for everyone else was much longer for him. And he brought back a mandate, which is basically get on board with House Varun. or be devoured when the great serpent encircles the universe. House Varun zealots are a common enemy group, and that is their motivation. They want everyone to hop on board with House Varun before the great serpent encircles the universe. They seem very popular.
Do you know what this sounds like? The Great Serpent. If you're a Star Wars nerd, I'm not. I just know this. When you go in hyperspace, it's literally another dimension, which isn't how warp works in Starfield. We know it's bending space. I think. There's yeah. Anyway, in Star Wars, you're not supposed to stare into like the warp tunnel. I don't know the official word. Hyperspace, sorry. And apparently people like Darth Vader, they got high just by staring into it. You're not supposed to look
And I'm
into
gonna
it.
be high.
There's probably, Star Wars people in chat that probably know way more than me. I just know you stare into it, you get high. I'm wondering if it's something similar. You're bending space-time, you're gonna see weird stuff. I think it's an illusion, and I just think they're crazy. But I just hope they don't pull an atom where they're like, haha, it's real, or is it?
And then make me watch an hour 45-minute long Epic Nate breakdown video.
Is
Shout out
atom
to
real?
Epic.
And like, there's tons of evidence for, but then it's absurd. But then again, they have
Right.
they have eldritch horror gods, so I suppose it's not that bad, right?
Right.
Just want to give a quick shout out to Kamikaze, who said, "Hi guys, how you doing? Glad you could be here with us."
Kamikaze, you rock. You rock. Thanks for joining us.
So now I want to pose the question to the two of you and also anyone in chat. Between Sanctum Universum, the Enlightened, and House Varun, which one is your favorite? Which religion are you going to find yourself committing to?
Oh, getting into. I thought you meant like, what's like the one that I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy. I like how crazy it is. I don't think I'm gonna get in any of this. Well, Vectera seems to be the one that I'm like, I'm leaning towards House Varun, just because it's just cool. I don't know. It's more like fantasy. It's more Star Warsy because Star Wars. Like you look at like Star Trek and Star Wars. Compare the two. One is sci-fi. One is space. Science fantasy, which is Star Wars. And there are these religions and these beings and these gods and all these things that could be happening. Star Trek, it's like, nope, not happening. It's all science. Stop thinking about it. So I think House Varun is probably my favorite.
Love it. Lex, what do you think?
Well, for me, I'm not going to fall into any of them. I might.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm just, it's like in real life. I say I'm an atheist, but I'm not. I'm what I don't know the direct term is. It's where there's no proof of a god. Like I don't worship a god, but I'm not ruling out that there's a higher power in the universe. I'm not ruling it out because I just can't know, but I do not believe in a god, and I don't, believe in it. That
Term for
doesn't
that is
mean I'm not.
agnostic.
Yeah, I'm not then. I'd be
What
discriminating.
would DeMarco say? DeMarco would say, "That's your opinion, but I hate you, and I don't."
How dare you not play Baldur's Gate 3?
Right? How dare you? Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to embody the spirit of DeMarco. That's just your opinion, but I hate you, and I can't remember how he says it. God, I miss him. Where he's gonna be missed.
I mean, my mum's Christian, and when I probably shouldn't poke holes in the Bible as much as I do, but she's not like a religious nut. But
Lex, can we get a poll going for Sanctum Universum, Enlightened? Like, which is
Oh.
chat's favorite religion?
That's a good
what
one.
what is your
Claire Synth, welcome to the chat. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us.
just based on sentiment in chat, Varun seems like the overwhelming favorite. But I'm curious to see if a poll bears that out as well.
How do you spell religion? I failed
R-
English.
GESUSCHRIST. That's the only way to spell religion. Don't you know? Come on.
RELIGIONS,
Okay.
There you go.
or without the S if it's singular.
What's your favorite religion? Yes. I'm leaving that in. Yes.
Oh, this is gonna be great. So
How-
do we?
I want to be fun on streams, you know? Like, when I do a Starfield playthrough, I want to have fun with the community. And then we'll have the serious lore content. That's why I'm doing these funny polls.
Yeah, I'm so excited, by the way. We gotta talk about how we're gonna do that because I've
what-
gotten so used to the.
Oh, sorry. What the religion's called? I've got House for Ruin.
Sanctum Universum is the other one.
And then the Enlightenment.
Sanctum Unit.
Universe.
Okay, I don't know if that's how you spell it, but that's gonna have to do. And the last one's Enlightened, right?
Enlightened. Yeah, you got it. So yeah,
I like
Sanctum
how
Universum.
Klepto just typed religion in the chat. Like, there you go, there it is.
I think that was to
There it
help
is,
Lex
yeah.
with spelling.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Oh,
yeah,
man.
chat, what do you think? Sanctum Universum is the sort of evolved Abrahamic religions that believes in God and believes we can explore space to get closer to God. Enlightened is the atheist group that focuses on humanitarianism.
I forgot to put Starfield. It's just, what is your favorite religion?
I love that you left that in.
And House Varun is the fanatical Great Serpent people.
Who's voting yes?
Someone who just loves everyone and loves all the religions. That's great. Yeah, House for Rune has taken over the 7 votes so far. Wow.
Really good split here.
All right, Jonas, have a good night, man. Thanks so much for hanging out. As always,
Thanks for being here.
You're awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Jonas. This was great.
Todd Howard's up in the top corner. He's turned into Vasco for this.
So
You can become part of this community. Listen, I can't speak for Lorefield, but this might become a live show every.
Oh my God.
Right as I'm like, you want to join? But yeah, in between there's the Lorefield. You can also follow DeMarco on his channel. You can follow DeMarco and me on my channel, Red Wolf Renegade on YouTube, where there's a weekly podcast there every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, you can always be a part of the.
Wait, are we done?
Be a part of the podcast. No.
Oh, okay. I thought we were ending. You confused me.
Sorry. I get like on a tangent. Like I said, I'm so used to hosting that I apologize. Noodles was saying, how do I join one of these podcasts? Sorry, never. No, I'm kidding. We actually just had, I say we, I wasn't on it, but Lorefield here just had Jake on as a guest, and he's been a long-time listener, and he only had to give $150 over the course of 2 years to join. So that's all you got to do. That's all you got to do is
Yeah, Wolf, how dare you plug on here?
Two things I want to
I'm
share.
gonna actually link my channel in the description. Is that worse?
No, go for it.
Okay.
Real quick, I just want to share the reason I suddenly got really close to the camera. I was adjusting how I sit. I injured my tailbone like 7 years ago playing hockey, and if I sit
God.
too long, it gets really painful. So that was, and then I busted out laughing when I saw my stupid head get so close to the camera in the playback. I have on my
That's
phone.
what made me crack up. Oh my god!
I thought you headbutted it.
No, I got pretty close, but no. So yeah, that's why I do that. I just in pain if I sit still too long.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
It's all
I'm
good.
sorry. Hate that. How'd you do it?
Dude, I was skating. I was a defenseman. This was in middle school. I was skating backwards, and I just hit like a rut. It was late in the game, so the ice was all chewed up. I hit a rut and I fell on my ass, and I had old hockey pants that didn't protect back there too well. So my full body weight, and I was a heavy kid in middle school. I fell straight onto like right on the tailbone. I think I fractured it or something because it was bad. But
God, I thought you were gonna like say like some kid was making fun of me for being a Starfield fan, so I sat on his face really hard.
I know what.
I don't know. You're like, I'm gonna bully you back. You're like, yeah, you like that?
Oh
And
my God.
I don't know. It's the first thing that came to my mind, but that sucks, man.
Noodle says middle school, so this was recent. No. Captain
How dare
Takashi, you brought up the static economy. We are absolutely going to get that. We're going through the questions in order. So yeah, that is coming up. That is a big detail. We'll get into that big time. Question 10, though, dealt with companions. It's basically asking more about the companions. And they once again confirmed that you can only really romance the members of Constellation. Those are the ones with a ton of depth. But there are still over 20 named characters who can join our crew, which is a much higher number than I was expecting, to be honest. You can't romance those people, but still, that's 20 named characters. Really, really good, in my opinion. That's double the amount of companions that Fallout 4 had. Companions were a big focus in Starfield because BGS saw how beloved they became in previous games, and now they also tied companions to the main quest, and they didn't go into detail on that, but that's something to watch out for too. So who you have on your ship might be very important in some of those main quest line decisions.
Nice. Got a little mute button.
Cough button.
Nice. I love that.
Danila's asking, who are the romance options? So Barrett, Sam Coe, Sarah, Noelle, Andreja. Sam Coe, I think, is probably one of them. Sarah, I think, is confirmed to be one of them.
She's been confirmed, yeah.
Yes. And then I imagine Mateo, probably. Vladimir. Who's going to romance Vladimir?
Yeah. He better be. He better be. Or that's what he'll say to you. He's like, you better romance me. I was
like,
these arms.
Okay, whatever you need.
Okay, I love you. I love you.
Yeah. I think Walter. I don't know. I'm not sure about Walter. I kind of hope so.
Then here we go again. He's like, I'll pay you. Everyone's just horrible in Starfield. And Sarah to me, listen, I'm gonna be honest. And chat, tell me if you agree with me. I don't like that they said who we can romance. I think I've said this before, maybe when I had you all on my show before. The fact, like, I don't care if you tell me how many there are. Well, that bothers me too, but not as much. But when you say who you can romance, that means that, like, there's a subconscious, like, little meter filling up in my head. Like, I'm gonna continuously. I would rather meet a character, start having a conversation with them, they join your crew, like Mass Effect, and you talk to them, and the conversation and the relationship sort of builds over time, and then they organically, if it's done right, if it's written right, they eventually organically start to become more closer to you, and you're like, wait, are they like into me, or can I like romance this character? And you're like, oh, I can do that. But now it's like, yeah, so this person, and I'm like, well, now I'm just like pick and choose. Like, I know I can romance you, so no. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
Love it.
Great.
There's some
No one
debate.
agrees. Okay.
Well, there's some debate going on in chat about how many there's going to be, and the consensus seems to be 2 guys, 2 girls. I think there are enough people in Constellation that they could do 3 and 3.
They see everyone's stuck on the number 4 because they said 4.
Oh, did
They
they?
didn't say
Okay.
anything.
I
I don't
mean-
know if they said it in this AMA, but they have said 4 before that there are 4 romance, and people got upset about that.
That's
They said there's
right.
over 20 companions, but only 4 of them are romanceable. And people are like, really, dude? So
I
go ahead, Lex,
think
sorry.
I've said it before, but I don't think that's a big problem. Constellation's the main faction. We might get DLC, romance options that aren't in Constellation, but Constellation is the focus of this game, so I think it makes sense to have 4 of them romanceable. That's not to say other companions won't have quest lines where you can get close to them, because you could do that with all companions in Fallout 4. It just means that in the Constellation faction, you can get really, really close to these people in a more personal way, or like spiritual, I guess, rather than best buds forever, walking into the. There's different kinds of bonds, and I think. But the only problem I have is you will be is if there's no restrictions on, you can just. I know it's restricting, but when you think about it, it doesn't make sense that you can, in Fallout 4, for example, you can romance everyone, and nobody cares. You could sleep with all of them in the same bed. They just don't care. You're all their partner, basically, and there's no consequences for that. I think that should be an important decision, right? Like in Skyrim, you can only marry one person. I hope that's the thing where when you've romanced one, the rest are locked off for you, because that's like in the real world, right? I know there might be achievements, but this is why you create save states. Create a save, and when you've got the achievement, you can go back. When you think about it. And that save will only exist so you can get that achievement. It's better than making a new playthrough. I'm going to be honest. Yeah.
There's great discussion on this going on in the chat, and I love what you had to say, Lex. And I think they can sort of lean into this idea of members of Constellation having a huge amount of camaraderie because they're on this crazy quest to track down these artifacts, and they're trying to kind of push humanity forward and perhaps even establish contact with a new species. The huge impact that would have on the personal connections between the people involved in this quest. They'll understand the artifacts, they'll understand the magnitude of what they're trying to do, unlike anyone else. And I think for that reason, they can sort of justify, like, okay, maybe there's not something in universe that's strictly bounding you to marry inside or have a romantic relationship inside Constellation, but just because of the nature of the work you're doing, these are the only people you're going to be interested in. Maybe there's an angle they can take there, but I'm not sure.
I mean, I just want to romance Vasco, and I'm literally going to make a mod where you can like have him as a spouse or something.
That's going to be great.
Do you think that thing on his chest does more than shoot guns?
Yeah, they will make like a squirt water gun or something. I don't know. Or it shoots like BB bullets or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Pull an egg whisk on it. I don't know. Maybe you can be a chef.
Well, I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Keep your dirty. Go to horny jail.
Oh, you think there was like a horny planet? It's just like a bunch of
no,
like
Wolf.
a bunch of like naked cultists. That's what that ship is. Where that woman's like, she literally turns around like this. She's standing there. She goes, "I thought that there was no one else."
That's right. Yeah.
She like comes out. I'm like, okay, that was weird.
And Noodles had a thought about this. It would be great to find a stranded companion. He's been stranded there for years, and you recruit him. Then you build a base on that same planet and station him there, leaving him in the same place that he's been stranded on for years. That is psychopathic, Noodles, but I love it.
Because there's the one dude who's like, I'm stuck here forever, and then you're like, cool, join my ship, stay here, I'll be right back. But for now, let me build a little bubble, and you could just leave him right there. I think that's what they're talking about.
Sam Coe, he's Constellation, right, and possibly romanceable. I don't know if he's. And he has a daughter.
He is.
How old is his daughter?
12.
Yeah, she's a child still.
Oh, okay. Then, like, so if you get with Cole, does that mean you have a stepdaughter?
Yeah, Danilo had an interesting point there. We haven't seen any other kids, have we? Because we now know that
Yeah, we have.
Korako was that girl sitting in the window well. we now know. She had the same clothes. And
We've
we've
seen
actually
kids walking around, and we see one actually like
Okay.
being reprimanded
Right.
by the authorities whenever we
Named
walk
kid.
in.
Is
Yeah,
adopt
I should
is
have clarified.
is
Named
adoption
kids.
back? Is adoption back?
Right.
Can I
That's
adopt?
the big
100%.
question.
But is it
It's
gonna?
gotta be.
I hope I can adopt at least like 3 or 4. I don't want to have to adopt 2, and then only one can have a pet in my thingy home. Like they can have a pet spider or something, or they can have like a pet like insect from Blackreach. That's quite fun.
All right, I thought you meant can you have a kid as a pet? You meant your kid can have. A pet.
Yeah.
Oh God, I was like, good God, I thought I was going on. Yeah, I love that. The kid at the grave? Question mark.
Do you
I
know?
don't know if Takeshi's talking to me.
It's
There was a kid as soon as you walk into New Atlantis, you look to your left and there's a kid standing there like with UC authorities like with their guns like not aimed at it but just like looking at him like what did you do? Yeah.
I'm not trying to like make Starfield a life simulator, but if one day there's a mod where you could like live a life and like get pregnant or get someone pregnant and then raise a child in-game months, I don't know. Sounds boring, like in principle or like on paper. It sounds cool.
No, I think
No,
that
it sounds amazing. I love that.
yeah, that fits
I
right
am
into the essence of Bethesda.
Exactly. Nailed it. You nailed it, Mitch. Exactly. Do what you want, be who you want.
9 in-game months.
Some
That's not long. That's 100 hours of gameplay. So it'd feel quite long for the player, and then you feel like, holy shit, I've got a child. You know, and you get it registered, and it'll be fun. And then the child grows in real time. So if you spend 25 years in game, that kid would be 25, and then they become a optional companion. Do that for Elder Scrolls 6, Todd, please. That would be amazing. 25 years
That'd be
in
pretty cool.
game is like hard. Like 10% of the player base are going to do that because a majority are going to restart every time they reinstall the game. But have that kid raise and then become someone who can follow you on your adventures. That'd be awesome. You could be like Lover's Lab territory. You just make it less weird. That's a weird place, man. As that's
I don't know what that is.
I don't either. I'm not sure I want to.
So what's the next question?
so you know Nexus has restrictions
Oh,
on
no.
mods.
I know what that is now. Yeah,
It's
okay.
it's the unrestricted mods, but it's not just for
Yeah.
Skyrim. It's for a bunch of games, and there is question. Do you know what? I don't want to talk about it. There's a lot of questionable content in there.
So
that-
question 9.
Question
I think?
11.
Oh.
So this one also dealt with crew members, and it asked, do we have to pay them salaries when they're working on our ship? And this is something they experimented with in development, ultimately decided no, you just pay them once up front, and then they're part of your crew for as long as you want. I don't believe they answered if you make them part of your crew, and then you kick them off, say, screw you, I'm leaving you on Aquila, or whatever, and then you bring them back on your crew later, do you have to pay that fee again?
Probably not.
That's not a question that was answered. Probably not, you think? Okay.
I think when you dismiss them, they just go to a settlement. Like you can basically, you're saying to them, I've assigned you to a new task. You don't need to be on board the ship anymore. They go to a settlement. They become a guard or whatever you assign them to.
Oh, but they're still part of your crew, so
Yeah.
you don't have to pay them. Okay.
Like when you
Yeah,
dismiss a companion, or if you have no settlements to send them to, they'll go back to where you met them, but you can still recruit them.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That seems likely.
Yeah, because you got to remember they don't want it to get tedious. For the player, like Todd said, they have to gamify a lot of it. Can't
Sure,
have.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think you figured that one out, Lex. Yeah, you're probably right. Question 12 asks another one about companions and other characters, NPCs. Will our companions be able to level up their perks? Do their perks stack with ours? The answer to the first part of that question is no. All crews start with a set of perks at specific ranks, and those don't change. I was watching Starfield Signal's stream of the Q&A, and I think he said he was a little disappointed by that. their perks, the NPCs perks, will remain completely static through the entire playthrough. Is that a problem for either of you, or is it kind of meh? It didn't bother me too much, to be
I mean,
honest.
the characters that we meet, they are who they are. They've already had their experience, you know. So who they are is their class, their build, their, you know, if I meet Barrett and he is like, oh, he's like a sniper, and then like 10 hours later now he is like a heavy gunner or whatever, that just sort of dilutes the identity of each character being unique, if that makes sense. So everyone can be anything if they're your companion. Why would I bring them along other than I like them as a person, as a person? You know, they're help me. Like Barrett's funny and like Sarah's, you know, Sarah. You know what I mean? Like, but if everyone can do anything because you can level them up, I think that it just sort of makes them feel less real. So that's I think it's good. That
I've ended the poll, so you can, when it decides. There we go.
Oh, look at that. Sanctum. Wow, Sanctum Universum has taken just by a hair.
Oh, interesting.
Wow, okay.
I forgot
Wow.
to end it.
Balanced all
I've
the way
just
through,
left it
though.
up.
That's great. And I think that speaks to the good job that Bethesda's done of making 3 equally interesting factions. These are totally different. One is based in real world religion. The other is an atheist, and the other is kind of just this completely novel idea. And they have all drawn relatively equal interest from the community. I think that's amazing.
Wait, speaking of skills, there's a game that's out at the moment. I don't know if it's in early access or whatever. It's a game, but it overwhelms you with skill trees right at the beginning. And like, generally that's poor game design. You don't want overcomplicated skill trees when you're just starting out. Like it's overwhelming. A lot of players don't want to. They go, oh, that's just so much to do. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do all this. But for those devs, they particularly did it because it actually it filters players. It filters the people that want that from the people who don't want that. I don't know. A lot of players don't like overcomplicated skill trees from the get-go. And I like Bethesda skill trees. It's gradual. I mean, yeah, there's XP exploits, and you can like level up on like the day one patch, or you can get infinite money because there's an exploit with the vendors. Not that I'd ever do one of those glitches. Yeah, when I stream the game, we will be totally legit. And if there's ever an exploit, you must be hallucinating because I'd never do that. So, you know.
Noodles.
I never do that.
Noodles pointed out my lookalike, and I'm angry.
Can you see it?
I've never seen Hook, but I just looked it up. Man. It's a little kid.
He's a little kid. Yeah, Mitch is actually 6'4", and the only jack part about him is he is jacked beyond belief. Yeah. So.
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
look at me. I'm jacked as well. Look, I'm a twig. I'm jacked.
Yeah. So number 12.
Let's see. Yeah, and I did want to address the static economy because looking through my notes, it looks like I actually forgot to include that. So I'm not sure which question it answered, but so we'll just kind of take an aside here to note that yes, Starfield has a static economy. There won't be organic supply and demand. You can't saturate an economy by selling tons of items and making the price go down. You can't buy everything and make the price go way up. It's going to be fixed. Everything will have a fixed value. You can have perks that influence the price of goods in the transactions you do, but there won't be this sort of floating price of everything based on what's available.
That's good in a way, because what if you break the economy? Like, then you have to simulate how long would it take for that economy to recover, and economies don't recover very quickly. We've seen this in real life when the housing economy crashed in like 2008. It's just, you know, It would be crazy stupid. Yeah, like Star Citizens players, they were like, oh, that'd be amazing, right? This life simulator, but it's like it's just too complicated. It's literally simulating an entire economies. Like, if you've played No Man's Sky, you can break the economies, and then you just fly to another system, and then break that economy.
Right, and just like, well, it's screwed here, so it's never coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. Because economies take years, maybe decades to recover.
They kind of closed the door on the ability for people to just absolutely break the economy, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I understand why people wanted that sort of dynamic side of it. But yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't role play as a supplier of a certain material, because you can. Say if you have farms in your town or whatever, pretend you sell those crops that you harvest. Pretend that you're helping the economy. That's the whole thing about role playing, right? Use your imagination.
God.
For sure, yeah. I think Bethesda took the safe option here, because inevitably there was going to be like an exploit or something where if you just make a ton of this item and then you sell them all and then you get this item, like you'll be a billionaire and by level 3.
Well, no, actually, to be a billionaire by level 3, what you do is you sell an item to a vendor, but then you buy it back, then you sell it, and then you buy it back, and then you can start buying stuff and you'll get infinite money. I don't know. That was the thing in Fallout 4.
By neutralizing all the prices, I think they've done the best they can at eliminating that, which I see as a good thing.
Actually, Fallout 4, you can still break the game. I'm just like, this is off topic. I just want to say this. It's not infinite money, but if you spam build shelves with basic resources like scrap build, you just do that, but you spam it. In one spot, you can get so much XP. If you do that for hours, you can like get to like level 30 in like a couple of hours. Leaving the vault, it's crazy.
Jeez.
And I hope there's something like that in Starfield. Like get a settlement and just build something cheap that you can just repeatedly build and scrap. I don't know. That'd be fun.
Kind of grind it out, yeah. Might not be my favorite part of the game doing that, but that was one of the questions Will and Emil were asked. Question 13 asked, what are Will and Emil's favorite parts of the game? And Will said it's finding content that he never saw or forgot about. I recall hearing similar anecdotes from Fallout 76's development, where the game is just so huge that you come across things that you didn't even know were there, even though you spent 3 or 4 years of your life or even more working on it. And then Emil said the evolution of quest lines and cities into the versions that they are today, watching all those iterations evolve, was his favorite part. And he has a particular soft spot for Neon because it aligns completely with the cyberpunk settlement that he envisioned so many years ago.
That sounds like a very
Thank you.
personal thing.
Noodles. I love how Noodles is so ready to call out the L questions.
L question. This question was in the direct. We already heard both their answers to that.
I'm first hearing these questions.
Will Shen's answer was different because Will was like the ending. That was what he said.
I didn't tune in because I was finishing up the last expansion of Final Fantasy XIV, Endwalker. That's what I was doing.
Who was it in chat? Or not? Sorry, not in chat. Who was it in the comments that asked, "Hey, could you link that where in the video Kent shows up? Is he in chat? Are you in chat? Tell me." And then I found it. I went back and found it in the direct. And 10 minutes, 3 seconds in, is when you describe Kent, who he is. And then in 10 minutes, 3 seconds in the direct is when Kent shows up. And I was like, What
I planned that.
just happened?
What
Yeah.
just happened?
It blew me away. I was like,
Whoa.
Yeah, that was pretty weird.
Yeah.
Question 14 is one that we've heard many developers now provide their answers to, whether it's in promotional videos or on social media. What books or movies had a big influence on the quests in Starfield? Will is a history nerd, so he listens to podcasts like Hardcore History and the History of Rome. And he made an interesting observation, which was that history tells us how human beings react to extreme situations. And you can imagine how we'd react to similar circumstances in fictional settings. And I think that was what he tried to tackle in Starfield. Emil cited 70s and 80s sci-fi as his big inspiration: Battlestar, Star Wars, Buck Rogers, Ice Pirates, and something I've never heard of, Metal Storm: The Destruction of Jared Sin.
that sounds like a Japanese anime if I ever heard it.
It sounds crazy,
Yeah, exactly.
but that's what their inspirations were. Question 15 was favorite small details in Starfield to add to the immersion. Emil said it's the lived-in universe, which you can see everywhere. It's the books lying around, the notes on bulletin boards, the environmental storytelling that Bethesda's so good at, all work together to make the world feel real. He also said the level of detail on ships is, quote, insane. So he had very good things to say about that.
Was he specific on what he meant? Because a lot of people jump to graphics immediately when you say detail. And
I think it was more...
That's not always the case.
Right, exactly. I think it was more like the buttons on the ships all have a purpose, like all of the... I think it was more the scientific research that went into the modules on the ships.
Because
that he
a
was
lot of
referring to.
people take Todd quotes out of context, like the 16 times the detail, which is true because it 16 times the view distance. Like you can literally see weathers in the distance, which is crazy. And in Starfield, that's going to be incredible. You can see an incoming storm, and you can then go, right, can I prep for this storm? There's a storm coming. Should I get into my ship and wait out the storm, or can I make it to my destination in time? Am I going to accept this debuff from this storm, or whatever?
They said that?
No, I'm just a hypothetical scenario. Like,
oh, sorry.
If a
'Cause,
planet has weather...
we did see storms. Yeah.
So, like, we've all seen Wall-E here, right? You know, like those big, like, dust storms. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying if the storm comes, you could treat it like that scenario where you have to get inside, or you have to at least plan what you're going to do. At least in terms of immerse yourself. Like, you know.
Where you can like see it coming and 16. You have to...
Yeah, you can say, can I make it to my destination and get back before the storm comes? Or is it coming too fast? How fast is it moving? Maybe your watch can help with that. And if not, just get in your ship and just wait it out. Because your ship's going to protect you. And you can always get Vasco.
No Man's Sky, you can do that. Except No Man's Sky ships, you can't move around. You just sit in a cockpit, which sucked. But hey, now we've got Starfield.
So... just so weird. I love it.
Thank you. Noodle says 16 times the questions.
I said that very lovingly.
Oh, I just snorted.
Well, I hope you know that.
Right. How do you think Starfield's gonna quickly? How do you think it's gonna end? Because will they go Elder Scrolls? There's one fixed ending for the main quest, or do you think they're gonna go the Fallout route, multiple endings?
One fixed ending, because I think Will Shen has already alluded to that.
Oh, okay.
Because he said his favorite part was the ending. Yeah, someone asked him what his favorite part was. Not in this Discord AMA, but another time. And he said his favorite part is the ending.
Because that's like Fallout 3, there is only one ending. But you do get choices in that ending, which will determine how you're looked upon. Actually, here's a question for chat. will it have a checkpoint ending or will it have an open ending? And by that, can you play after you beat the story, or is there going to be a checkpoint?
Gotta be an open ending.
Yeah.
It has to
That
be.
like means like no cliffhangers. Like Fallout 3 originally had a cliffhanger. I think open ending too. With Fallout 3, I understood it. Like, I understand why people were mad, and I understand why Bethesda did it, because they were doing a representation of like Fallout 1, because that ends when you finish the game, and that's what Fallout
Alex,
3 did.
can we do a poll on open ending versus
Yeah.
closed? That'd be great.
Thank you, Takeshi. That's very sweet of you.
I fully agree as well. Wolf, you bring so much life and energy to this show. You're incredible.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I would say the F word a lot more, but I don't want to, totally get the show screwed up.
I don't know what the rules are
Um,
with YouTube and whatnot.
I don't know either. Listen, but listen, I'm glad that people aren't leaving because of me. But that means a lot. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just really be myself. I'm like, who cares about the rules? I don't know if you. This is off topic. Every Thursday, on my channel and DeMarco Dude's channel, we stream Baldur's Gate 3. On our first stream, DeMarco goes, "All right, listen, let's try not to cuss because I'm monetized and whatnot. So let's try to keep it." So I didn't know that he was live yet. And I thought he was like doing some banter with me backstage. Like we were just talking backstage. And he said something to me like jokingly. And I said, F you. But I didn't say F. I said the actual word. And if you can go back right now, go on DeMarco's, sure. Go on DeMarco's channel and watch that first stream. The very first thing that you hear out of that stream is me saying, right off the bat. And DeMarco was like, "Yep." So that video got monetized like right off the bat. It's great. It's great. I have no filter. Renegade Realm podcast on Red Wolf Renegade on YouTube. That's where you can find me, baby. The show's not over yet. Don't leave. Don't leave. We're not done.
We do have one more question to talk about, and this is one, Noodles, that I thought was going to be an L question, and Emil gave such a phenomenal answer to this question that it ended up being one of my favorite ones. And it was, what is the history of the mechs that we have seen here and there in Starfield materials? They were seen in one of the animated shorts, operable. They're actually running with people inside them. And we've also seen gameplay clips of them kind of abandoned in a kind of a dusty planet that reminded me a bit of Wall-E, which we were talking about earlier, in that sort of environment. But what's the deal with these mechs? So they are leftovers from the Colony War. Both sides, United Colonies and Freestar Collective, had mechs in the war. But what's really interesting here is Freestar Collective was the side that actually mastered the mechs and made better use out of them. I always thought of the Freestar Collective as a little bit more primitive, lower tech than the United Colonies, but here we have these incredible mechs that Freestar Collective was actually able to master and use much more effectively than United Colonies. United Colonies had mechs too, but they more relied on the controlled alien beasts from their Xeno Warfare division, which is insane.
What the? That sounds like Switch, right? Like you'd think that the Freestar would have the beasts and the UC would have the mechs. I see what you mean, right?
Well, I think what's going on with UC's Xeno Warfare division is that I think these are genetically modified, and I don't think Freestar Collective can do that.
That makes more sense. They have like these little like metal things stapled to their head kind of thing, and they're all controlled, more
so.
sciencey, right?
That's speculation, but if they have a Xeno Warfare division, I feel like there's some engineering going on there.
Do you think it's going to be like they're making stuff like the FEV?
The FEV?
From Fallout?
That's the
FEV? Forced Evolutionary Virus, that made super mutants.
I'm not as up on my Fallout lore as I should be.
Mitch,
Fallout.
I know.
you're in Lorefield. How could you?
Oh, FEV. I'm saying E. Your accent. I'm sorry, I apologize.
FEV.
FEV. I thought you were saying FUV, but
FUV.
that is.
Wait, what's
I was
the?
like, what do you think?
That reminds me. What's the? That reminds me of the new UFO term. What is the official new UFO term?
The WAP is how what people are calling it.
Like they're not
It's a
called
UAP.
Everyone knows them still as UFOs, but they've got a new name. They say something
It's a UAP,
UAP.
unidentified aerial
Phenomena.
Phenomena. Thank you.
That's
like
not going to catch on. If that catches on, I will cry. It's a UFO. It's an unidentified flying object.
That's really cool, though. So it sounds like Xeno Warfare might be kind of an evolution of a concept previously explored in Bethesda games. Well, be very careful there. In Bethesda franchises, with the Super Mutants and the FEV, and now Xeno Warfare, as it's being called. Controlled alien beasts. That's crazy. But either way, between the controlled alien beasts and the mechs, they were both outlawed with the armistice that ended the colony war. And I think that is how they explain why we can't operate the mechs.
So hang on, let's break that down. Okay, so say that again.
So mechs and the controlled alien beasts from that Xeno Warfare division were outlawed at the end of the colony war with the armistice.
Okay. So
Yes.
if you remember, we talked about this. I said that I bet we will have like a boss fight where someone has repurposed an old mech, like a Crimson Fleet boss or something like that. Like they've had one, it's repurposed, it's all janky and rusty with a bunch of weird stuff all over it, but it's like maybe one of the few that we'll see. That's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Chat has picked up on a specific creature that might have been used in the Xeno Warfare division. The creature from Crete. Are we talking about those crab-looking guys that we saw? They're like the very first thing we saw when we walked off the ship in
The rock
2022.
lobsters. Yeah.
Is that what we're thinking?
Where we walked up and we were like, oh, and then they were like, okay, and then they walked off.
Mr. Krabs.
I will await clarification on what beast we think might have been part of that Xeno Warfare.
So who said it? They were using the creep monsters in the wars, and it escaped that facility of yours. I think Takeshi's just having fun.
No, it's that horror movie thing that goes right at the camera.
The
It was on the
hunting
whiteboard.
maggot mall.
No, it's like out of
Oh,
Alien
in the
or something.
facility when you're walking down the
Yes.
hallway. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you sure? I'm
Oh.
pretty sure that looks similar to a maggot maw. How do we know it's not that? Another breed
No,
of it.
I think what we saw, Lex, is the same thing that randomly leaps off the roof onto that other creature in the direct and like stabs it. I think it's that same
I
thing.
thought that was a maggot maw.
I don't know. There's so many aliens in this world, you know how it goes.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought the maggot maws were the weird things.
Yeah, they were the only weird ones. So you know,
Okay,
there's
we're getting
there's ones
confirmation
together.
from chat. Yes, that creepy black thing from Alien
The one
is
on the
what we think
whiteboard.
might be
Right.
Xeno Warfare.
So
Interesting.
the one on the whiteboard is the same.
No,
Chat,
that's
tell me
totally
if I'm
different.
wrong. Is the one on the whiteboard the same one in the hallway? That's not a hunting maggot maw. The maggot maws are the giant
No, so
flubbery.
Maggot Maw is not in this. It's not either of these things.
Okay.
Okay, I'm talking about the spidery jumping off the roof thing. That's the same. The jumping off the roof guy is the same hallway scary guy, right?
And is the same whiteboard guy, but none
Yes.
of those are
We're all on
Maggot
the same
Maw.
page. We're all on the
Okay,
same page.
okay.
Okay.
Good.
I took it-
One thing I wanted to bring up with this whole like armistice ending the colony war and banning mechs, I think I smell cut content with inoperable mechs. I don't know. What do we think?
I don't think, because we know they've had an extra time. They've had, and with this time they probably restored a ton of content because it's quicker than making new content. Because there's backups and they can restore stuff that way, or they can, if there's people that know what that content was going to be, they will have notes for it. They have all the things to restore that to what it was, instead of when the players basically have nothing. they have all the resources of what that was. Bullets, how big are the mechs? And mechs in games tend to be clunky and slow. Is that really going to be fun for the player? Think about it. Like, slow, bulky weapons, you can't really do much in it. It's cool, but it's not like Titanfall or Anthem where these suits are like amazing to use, and you'd rather use them than anything else. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be like power armor, because I mean, they could make something similar to power armor, but I don't know. I think there'd be more of a hindrance than fun.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And just to follow up on our poll from before, almost everybody thought that the game would have an open ending where you can play after the main quest, and I think that's probably correct. But chat had some takes too on, like, Captain Takashi said mechs definitely could have helped with global traversal if they made them really fast. Sure, but then how do they make that look good from an animation perspective when, like you said, Lex, mechs are pretty big, they're pretty clunky. Also making them really fast might look kind of odd in this grounded hard sci-fi world. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty interesting stuff. And that is the end of the Discord AMA. So do we have any overall thoughts? I mean, this is probably one of the last major info dumps before launch, to be honest.
Yeah, them saying that they're going to go gold at the same time that they dump on us with a bunch of...
Do you know what's funny, though? They've gone gold at the last minute, essentially. This is what you consider the last minute. Oblivion went gold literally, I think the week... Was it? It was like 3 weeks before launch. Or before... It went gold as they announced a new release date, I think. Oblivion had a very short gold to release. And I think Fallout 4 had a whole month going gold. Or at least it had... It probably, I don't know. Probably had like 3 weeks. I've got a clock up there. You can kind of see it.
Okay, you just like went off. It's like, hello?
there it is.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. Well, you have your mute button is over it, so I can't really see.
My mute button.
Yeah,
Where's my mute button? There's no mute button.
Yeah, and in chat it's cut off too. Actually, let's do one more poll because I'm curious about something. Chat. So far, between the Freestar Collective and the UC, which one are you siding with? You have the oppressive Empire, and then you have the rebels in Star Wars.
Ooh, be careful with that language. You don't want to sway the poll.
Don't.
All right, I'm not. From what we've learned,
do not. I repeat here. Look, do not say that they're an empire. The United Colonies is for the people. It's a democracy. We have elections. We are sorry. The Freestar Collective are too anti-woke. We're sorry. They need to get with the times.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the trend today, isn't it? Where people like something they don't like, they go, it's anti-woke, or like it's like we gotta fight the woke mind virus, and it's like, oh my god, these people exist, everyone. But I'm not saying that you're like some crazy people online. But you know, I'm United Colonies. I'm gonna say everyone should be in the United Colonies. Okay. Everyone.
Can we have a poll on that?
You know, you could just log into the account.
Can I? It doesn't boot one of us out.
No, you can.
You need to make me a mod too, by the way.
Okay.
Why?
You need to make because I want the power.
No, but Lex, I would push back when you say the UC is for the people. Do the farmers on Vespa also think the United Colonies is for the people?
Hey, they didn't get
What
off.
do the farmers have to say?
They didn't
because they're dead.
Oh man, was that the first ever cross faction slam in Starfield history?
It was, baby. Clip it out. We got you. Lorefield. Meme it. I don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Red Wolf Renegade.
Yes,
Now you
so
should
much.
you should be mod. You should be mod. Yo, we have 420 subscribers. So thanks, gamers. I
Very
cannot
cool.
wait.
Nice.
Yeah.
You guys jumped up 9 subs since this stream started. I have gained none, and that's probably because people don't want to jump away from this stream to jump to my channel. So I get it. It's fine. You know,
I will
I'll feel-
say
I'll
I
F
do
myself.
I do promise that we're gonna have serious lore content. Obviously after launch. I just want to make this distinction. But on stream there will be jokes. Lots of jokes. When I'm streaming my Starfield playthrough, expect lots of memes and fun times. Yeah. Gonna be playing it on my big TV here.
Great. I think Red Wolf, you deserve a little bit more love. You said you haven't gotten any subscribers during the duration of this podcast. So where can we find you, sir?
Well, you can find me testing if I'm a mod in the chat right now because I was on my wrong account. So that's me right there doing that. I can't see because this is in the way. It's in the
You
way.
are a mod.
Oh look, I just closed the poll. There we go. I was on the wrong one. That's me. That's the real me in chat. People, you can find me right there. I don't know. Can you like click on someone's name in the chat and go straight to their channel? Is that still a thing that you can do?
Huh?
Is that a thing?
I just typed in
Yes, you
/ban.
can. Yeah, I just did it.
There you go. Click on my name in chat. That's the real Red Wolf Renegade. And I do Starfield stuff. I actually just started doing my own content that kind of blew the hell up. And I've been so busy lately that I haven't been able to do anything at all, which is really.
And I've
really
got to
depressing.
say,
Um,
Danilo, is that right?
Oh.
They said, oh sorry,
Dandelion.
Dandelion.
Dandelion. There we go. That's what we're gonna call him.
Okay. Anyway, they said the Freestar. It was the Freestar Collector's fault. They put the farmers there. I'm just saying that's kind of true.
They put the innocent farmers there.
They were the
They
buffer,
shouldn't
Oh my God.
and they had to
made
get
the-
rid
they
of
took
it.
The risk.
They had to get rid of the buffer.
For Levette.
Oh,
So-
I love this. This is exactly what I was hoping for when we first learned about these two factions in the Colony War. I was so excited for when the community would start to pick sides as we learned more and just get into it. It's so much fun. I love it.
That's fantastic. Oh, thank you guys so much. I appreciate that.
Well,
I
the
guess
thing
that's all I have to
is,
do.
I
Hopefully,
love
you
the United
guys
Colonies
diddles and
for like memes because I know it's going to be heavily politically corrupt. There's going to be flaws in it, in the dirt. Look at in real life politics. You can't deny that it's all corrupt. As I say with Parliament, it's
Yes, sir.
literally just a bunch of old people arguing.
Parliament. Isn't that a piece of paper?
Parchment.
Parchment. That's what I'm thinking of. Oh man. Yeah, listen. And then Takeshi and Noodles are like, unsubbed? Never mind. What a freaking idiot.
So
My girlfriend said something today. She was like, we were having lunch and she's like, well, poverty per capita, it's something that, we have to. I was like, that's such a great word, honey. I don't know what that means. I've heard it so much. I don't. But I learned today, that it means per region or whatever, right?
sure, yeah, per unit.
Per unit, yeah. So there we go. You learn something new every day. Fantastic. So anyway, every Tuesday, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I have the Renegade Realm podcast. DeMarco Dude, who was on earlier, is a permanent member of the panel. And on Thursdays also I stream Baldur's Gate 3 with DeMarco Dude. And Lexi sneaks in every Tuesday on the podcast as well because
Yeah, I know. Every time I join, it's like every time I join, you say, "Lexi, what are you doing here?" And it's like, "I want to be here."
That's fine. That's totally fine. I wish Mitch. I can't speak. Mitch is. I wish he would sneak in there too. You sneaky little sluts, as I say. Oh, is slut a bad word? Well, I said it twice, so I guess it doesn't matter now. But that's me. That's me, baby. Yeah, yeah. This was great. This was so great. There was so much to talk about. I was gonna go like try to study this because there's the Jeopardy things, the Starfield Jeopardy you got coming up, bitch. I don't have to study now. Tell him.
Yes. So I don't know when it's going to be because I want to make sure that we have everyone available. But I've spent so much time this week putting together an actual game of Jeopardy, and all of the questions are Starfield questions. And I'm going to post links to the games. I was going to save this as a surprise, but there are two games. There's First Jeopardy and then there's Double Jeopardy. So there are 50 trivia questions about Starfield. And you have to, it's the full Jeopardy deal. You have to answer them in the form of a question. And I'm going to post the links out. I'm going to share the games with other Starfield creators. It's going to be great. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out. And I can't wait to play the game live. Or maybe not live. It might just be a VOD. But it's going to be so much fun having this crew
do you know
duke it out.
Do you know what's funny?
What's up?
Jeopardy is such an American game show. I don't think we have it here.
Oh, okay.
It's
pretty simple.
I think I only saw Jeopardy once, and that was in the film Free Guy.
Oh. But yeah, I will be Mitch Trebek. I actually have my suit jacket over there. It's gonna be like full deal. It's gonna be so much fun. But
wait,
yeah,
Jeopardy isn't the one with Steve Harvey in, right?
It's the answer sheet right here. No, Steve Harvey. That was Family Feud with Steve Harvey. But yeah, so that's definitely something to look forward to. Red Wolf shared where you can find him. You can find DeMarco Dude, who was here for pretty much the first half of the show, on his YouTube channel, DeMarco Dude, and on X at DeMarco Dude. You can find us on X as well at LoreFieldNet, where we share news, analysis, and finds about Starfield. You can also join us at the Lore subreddit, r/Lorefield, which has some great news and analysis. Not so much news, but more lore analysis and discussion, which is so amazing to see. We are on YouTube as Lorefield, where you can subscribe for all of our podcasts and some video content like Starfield Jeopardy, which is coming sooner rather than later. And of course, you can tune in for the Lorefield podcast over there as well. We have a Discord and where you can join us and some wonderful members of the Starfield community for lore discussion and more. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for discussing, chat. First live edition of the Lorefield podcast has been a smashing success. This was really a lot of fun. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.